Welcome to Walt Disney World, where dreams come true for all. And today at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex, two teams continue to prepare for what they hope will be a dream season. Robinson Cano and the Yankees face Brian McCann and the Braves next. Welcome to ESPN's telecast of Major League Baseball Spring Training, presented by Gillette. On today, the 15th anniversary of the Braves formally opening their training complex here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthume and Chris Singleton along the way. We have a good one for you today. The Braves and the Yankees. Brandon Beachy starts for Atlanta. Hiroki Kuroda on the mound for New York. And Chris, the Yankee rotation has been much talked about this spring. The top three spots we believe are now set. It'll be Sabathia, Kuroda, and Phil Hughes in that three spot. It's after that where things get just a bit hazy.
Three legitimate Major League pitchers battling for two spots. You got to love that if you're Joe Girardi. Sure, you're going to hurt some feelings, you're going to make some decisions, but ultimately, in this day and age, you can't have enough pitching. So you see there at the bottom, Nova, Pineda, Garcia battling. Andy Pettit will get back into the mix in May. That will bump another pitcher to the bullpen, but this is what you want, a healthy competition.
This is a loaded Braves lineup you'll see today. You'll see names like Bourne and Ugla and Freeman and McCann and Jason Hayward in right field.
Jason Hayward's the guy that they are counting on this year. Freddie Gonzalez said coming in the season, if Hayward can be the player that he was in his rookie season, the Braves really have a chance. Last year, below the league average in runs per game. They've got a new hitting coach in Greg Walker, has been working diligently with Jason Hayward and likes what he's seen. If they're going to have a chance in this improved National League East, Jason Hayward has to carry some of the load along with Brian McCann and Dan Ugla.
Third member of our broadcast team today is Rob Parker. He's been a Major League Baseball beat writer for 20 years. He votes for the Hall of Fame. Today, he's not battling with Skip Bayless. He's talking to Brian McCann. Rob.
Brian, tell me about your starter today, Brandon Beachy.
This is his second full season. Fastball explodes out of his hand. Got a good 12-6 curveball. Got a really good slider, and he mixes in his changeup here and there. But when he's got 3 or 4 pitches working, and he can put them where he wants, he's going to get a lot of people out.
Probably should have won more games last year. Didn't have a lot of run support. Are you expecting a breakout season from him?
Absolutely. We expect him to go in and win us a lot of ball games this year. He's got that potential, and we're working on pitch count and trying to get him into that 7th and 8th inning. He's got a true four-seam fastball, so a lot of hitters foul balls back, and so it works his pitch count. But we're trying to get that better and hopefully get him deeper into ball games.
Speaking of expectations, what about for your team? Last year obviously was disappointing. This year, you guys really didn't add anybody. Washington, Miami made some moves. Can you guys win this division?
Absolutely. If you look at it, last year we had a lot of guys hurt at key moments. And, I think this year everybody's healthy. And, so we basically got some free agents in-house. So we're excited about that. We get Hudson back beginning of May, and, that'll be a big shot in the arm for us.
All right. Best of luck to you, Brian. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rob. We're excited about our game today. You'll see many of the Braves regulars. For the Yankees, you'll see names like Robinson Cano and Mark Teixeira. Just about set to get going here. Yankees and Braves underway right after this. ESPN Spring Training is brought to you by Gillette. Great things start with Gillette. And in part by Outback Steakhouse. It's always fresh in the Outback. Lineup brought in here today by Yankee skipper Joe Girardi. It looks as follows. Eduardo Nunez will play shortstop and lead off. Then it's Cano, Teixeira, Ibanez hitting cleanup. And after that, you've got Eric Chavez at third base. Francisco Cervelli behind the plate for the Yankees today. The outfield is Dwayne Wise in center, Chris Dickerson in right, and Justin Maxwell in left. They'll face Atlanta's Brandon Beachy. Chris Singleton, his fifth start of the spring so far, 1-1. The ERA 6.43.
Yeah, a little high there with the ERA, but it is spring training. This guy, Brandon Beachy, might be the most dependable starter in the Braves rotation when you consider Hanson, Jurgens last year, Hudson injured, coming back. A lot could fall on him this season.
Talk about Brandon Beachy and what he brings to the mound and to the table for the Braves this year, but we're set for baseball here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex. Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton along the way. Eduardo Nunez steps in to lead off for the Yankees. And Nunez is a guy, Chris, that's had a pretty good spring, 9 for 24 coming in.
Now, these utility players for the Yankees, very important when you consider the aging left side of that infield, and Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter.
Beachy's first pitch of the day is a strike. Defensively for the Braves, you've got Martin Prado in there at third. We'll see the shortstop here, Chris, that everyone in camp is talking about, Andrelton Simmons. Dan Uggla at second, and Freddie Freeman is the first baseman. Beachy had 0-2. The outfield, Constanza in left, Bourne in center, and Hayward in right for Atlanta.
Yeah, that was a good-looking 0-1 pitch right there for Beachy. Good tilt. The angle coming down in the strike zone at the knees on the outside corner. Nothing Nunez could do with that one.
Nunez fouls one back behind the Braves dugout along the first base side. Brandon Beachy, 6'3", 215, 25 years old, out of Hope, Indiana Wesleyan product.
Good athlete. Played some infield in college, and you like to see a good athlete on the mound be able to field his position.
Nunez fouls another one straight back. It's a low 90s fastball for Beachy. Good 4-pitch mix.
And I was talking to Brandon today before stretch and asked him, what was he really wanting to improve on this year, and would like to get deeper into the ball games. Try to induce some weak ground balls earlier in the count to keep that pitch count down. And I think that's what most big league pitchers would like to do as they progress.
Nunez looks at his first ball here. Brandon Beachy's a guy, as we saw his numbers earlier, he can strike guys out. 141 2/3 last year, 169 strikeouts, and only 125 hits allowed. Nunez knocks one into left. Constanza is there. Makes a nice running catch. Batting second today, Chris, Robinson Cano.
Well, in the 2-hole, but the talk around Yankee universe, as Constanza walking back after battling the sun, is that Robinson Cano will be in the 3-hole this year, and simply because he's emerging as the best hitter that the Yankees have and the most consistent. So batting in the second spot today, but once the season gets going, it's anticipated that he'll be in the 3-hole.
It's been something of a slow spring for Cano so far, batting 196. That's 9 for 46, a homer and 9 driven in. And we'll hear him talk about that later in the broadcast. He knows he's going to be expected to drive in some runs for Joe Girardi this year. Cano looks at a ball.
This little change up to start there, just missed. Even though the numbers are down for Cano, I like the fact that he doesn't look real anxious starting this ball game.
Cano pops it up. Prado along the third base line. There he is. 2 down. Batting third today for the Yankees, Mark Teixeira, off to a 270 start to his spring.
One thing about Mark Teixeira is always upbeat and an incredibly hard worker in the offseason. And last year had his struggles, but ultimately still a guy that's capable of getting that batting average up and as well continuing to produce in the power department.
Teixeira looks at a strike. He has yet to homer this spring, batting 270, no homers, 3 RBIs. Batting from the left side, that's his power side. Last year, 24 of his 39 home runs came as a lefty. Now he's behind 0-2.
Now Beachy sure is pepper in the strike zone. He's got the hitters in a defensive mode early.
Beachy misses there. Teixeira is an interesting problem, Chris, in that the left side is his power side, but he hit only 224 as a left-handed batter last year. Of course, he switched hits. And
interestingly, Teixeira talked about maybe putting some bunts down this year as they put the shift on him during the regular season.
Did he go? No. It's funny you mentioned that. He spent the winter working out at Bobby Valentine's complex in Stamford, Connecticut. Here's another look at Teixeira's check.
Now, one thing about Beachy, he's got good ride on the four-seam fastball, so it stays up as it comes through the zone. And Teixeira able to check the swing there. Get another opportunity here.
Teixeira fouls it back. Yeah, you mentioned Beachy. It's a four-seam fastball with really good vertical movement. It keeps coming up at you. He throws the four-seam fastball that rises. You look at Beachy on, look at a website like Fangraphs, it talks about this is a four-seam fastball that he can throw for strikes. It's a big swing and miss pitch for him. In fact, of all the starting pitchers last year who threw a four-seam fastball at least 40% of the time, Brandon Beachy's accounted for the greatest percentage of swinging strikes and overall strikes. Gets on you in a hurry and it just keeps rising. Teixeira, foul.
Took a little off there, and it's good confidence, showing a 3-2 count. Go to secondary pitch. Changeup not his best pitch, but that's why it's spring training. Bert, you got the opportunity to work on things, and
for everyone.
These numbers don't count.
Teixeira, a little pop-up in short left field. Constanza going to let it drop in front. The Yankees have their first base hit. Mark Teixeira has a single. That'll bring up Raul Ibanez.
Yeah, Stanza getting tested early, probably saying uncle out there, battling the sun.
He's got a
diving catch.
Yeah, a couple of in-betweeners out there, and we're not even getting through 3 outs here.
And the tendency there to break back a little bit when you've got a power hitter up like Teixeira, takes a full swing. You're battling the sun like that. You don't know exactly how far it's going to go, so you're anticipating by the resume that it's going to go deep. And that's how sluggers like Teixeira get those little weak base hits sometimes.
Strike one to Ibanez. It's been a slow spring for Raul Ibanez. 3 for 42. Does have one home run. He's driven in 4. Missed that one badly.
Another good changeup.
Raul Ibanez, a $1.1 million deal with the Yankees in the offseason. It's full of incentives for him to make some more money, and of course they'd love to see him as the DH in there against right-handed pitchers. He figures to sit against lefties. Beachy misses there, and that of course, Chris, will give the Yankees a chance to work guys like Alex Rodriguez into the DH role. Derek Jeter may get a half day off there as the DH as Ibanez sits against left-handed starters.
And that's going to be important as this season goes down. Last year, both of those guys, Rodriguez and Jeter, with some injuries.
Another one right in front of Jose Constanza, who's already had a busy day out there in left field, and the Yankees have a pair of 2-out hits here in the top of the first.
Well, here's Ibanez.
And when
battling
you're 3 for 42, you'll take everything you can get.
Well, you like the fact that his head was down on the baseball. Sometimes hitters are looking for the result. Where's it going to go? But a veteran player like Raul Ibanez understands the process of spring training and what he's working on. So an account like that, hey, I want to put the ball in play. Give us a chance.
Eric Chavez is playing third base for the Yankees. They played a game last night against the Blue Jays. Got a pretty good outing from CC Sabathia. So it's a relatively thin lineup of Yankee regulars here today. We've got Cano, we've got Teixeira, Chavez in there at third this afternoon. Looks at a ball.
Eric Chavez, my former teammate. We were both at Oakland A's. And you talk about a guy who can pick it over at third base. He's had multiple shoulder surgery, so the shoulder not as strong, but he positions himself well, has excellent footwork, and is a nice guy you can plug in when you give Alex Rodriguez a day off. Kimbrell, the excellent relievers in the bullpen for the Braves, but as Brandon Beachy desires to go deeper in the games, that's going to help everybody out. That helps your bullpen, keeps them fresher as you get down the stretch in the second half of the season.
Chavez, the 2-2. Inside for a ball. And now we talked about him being efficient. Beachy's gone full here after giving up a pair of 2-out hits.
And it's got to be a little frustrating for Beachy out there right now, getting ahead in the count. And like he said, he wanted to try to put guys away in 3 pitches, maybe 4, but the Yankees have been patient.
Both Teixeira and Ibanez running on the pitch, and it's fouled off. 3-2 and 2 outs. Now, these are veteran guys that he's facing. It's not Scruffy McScrufferson up there. You're talking about Teixeira, Ibanez, and now Chavez. These guys have been around a long time.
Yeah, this is a good little test as we're a week away from season starting. This is the time where guys like Beachy have to really get into that full game speed mode.
There go the runners again, and again it's a foul ball by Eric Chavez. Off to a 5-for-30 start this spring.
That's the great thing about playing a team like the Yankees or the Red Sox. Even when they don't have their starters going, typically the guys that are playing are
they represent
well-traveled and experienced, good resume, and you still have to bear down.
Teixeira on second, Ibanez on first. Another 3-2 pitch to Chavez. There it is up the middle of the wave. Teixeira. The Yankees will take a 1-0 lead. Ibanez into third, and it's an RBI single for Eric Chavez.
Well, Beachy really did Chavez a favor, hanging that breaking ball up in the strike zone. His four-seam fastball stays high, so you're used to looking in that slot.
Oh, yeah, that's way up.
And several years ago, Eric Chavez would have put that beyond the wall, and Beachy'd be asking for a new baseball.
Guys in our truck would be fielding that when they're placed precariously out there in right center field. Here's Francisco Cervelli doing the catching for the Yankees today, off to a 6-for-30 start this spring. No home runs, 3 RBIs. Cervelli drives one to left field. Constanza has a beat on it, chases it down, and Beachy is out of the inning. But the Yankees get 3 hits. They get an RBI single, and they lead 1-0. We'll go bottom one here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports. ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex, spring training home of the Atlanta Braves. Steve Berthiaume and Chris Singleton along the way. You're just in time. Braves and Yankees here on ESPN. Yankees get 3 hits and a run in the first. And now here come the Braves, Chris Singleton in the bottom of the first, and many of their regulars in Freddie Gonzalez's lineup today.
Yeah, and talking with Freddie before the game today, it's that time of spring training where you want to run your regulars out there, get them 7, 8, even 9 innings, let them play together, and really start getting in the mindset of what you're going to need next week as the season starts. Jason Hayward, a big piece of the puzzle for the Atlanta Braves. Really need him to get back to that form of his rookie year 2 seasons ago.
That lineup will face Yankee starter Hiroki Kuroda, making his 5th start this spring. So far, so good. 2-1 to 3.07. He figures to be number 2 in this rotation, which would put Kuroda in line actually to pitch the Yankees' home opener. That's April 13th against the Angels. Bottom one here at Disney. Yankees lead 1-0. Now the Braves bat for the first time. That means the leadoff man for the full season this time, Chris Singleton, is Michael Bourn.
And Michael Bourn last year, acquired from the Houston Astros. We thought that was really the spark that the Braves would need, a true leadoff man, good speed. It's a team that was lacking speed, so they'll have a full season with him. But after this year, he's a free agent, so motivated than in times past to go out and have a great year.
You think they may suggest that Bourn could bunt here? Chavez in there at third base for the Yankees is almost standing in the right-handed batter's box. And we are set to go here. Bottom first inning. The Yankees leading 1-0. Chavez weighing on the grass for Michael Bourn. Gets a strike from the home plate umpire. That's Chris Siegel today behind the plate. Michael Bourn, like most of the Braves, slumped down the stretch last year. This is inside. Bourn hit only 2 games after August 25th. Came over, as Chris mentioned, from Houston at the July 31st trade deadline. Bourn drives one into right field. Chris Dickerson is there for the Yankees. There's one away. Let's set the Yankee defense for you today. In the outfield, it's Maxwell, Wise, and Dickerson left to right. Eric Chavez is the third baseman. Eduardo Nunez at shortstop. Robbie Cano and Mark Teixeira on the right side. Francisco Cervelli is the catcher today for the Yankee pitcher Hiroki Kuroda. Here's the man who's been one of the Grapefruit League's best hitters so far this spring. In fact, he leads the Grapefruit League with 21 hits. It's Martin Prado batting second today, and they're at third base for the injured Chipper Jones. Prado chops one to Chavez at third. Teixeira is there, 2 down. Chris batting third today for the Braves. Off to a .293 start this spring, Brian McCann.
Brian McCann really becoming the face of the Atlanta Braves franchise as Chipper Jones has announced his retirement at the conclusion of this 2012 season. If you think about it, McCann a 6-time All-Star, Chipper Jones a 7-time All-Star, and McCann's got a lot of years left to play. He's going to need some of the young players like Freeman, Hayward to jump on board and help him get this team back to the postseason.
Kuroda misses outside. Well, this is a lineup. We're down there at the cage. These guys can mash. When you go McCann and Ugla and Freeman and Hayward, it's a show.
And Brian McCann last year had an oblique rib cage injury, spent a little time on the disabled list, and when he came back, he struggled. Talked to him during the season last year after returning from the disabled list. He just couldn't get his timing back together.
Kuroda misses again.
You know, for a guy who's sort of the unofficial captain of this Braves ball club, it was killing him on the inside as his team was sliding and sliding further away from October baseball.
Brian McCann turned 28 years old just last month, so he's right in the heart of the prime here, McCann, an all-star in each of his last 6 seasons. He's in there this year at $11.5 million for the Braves. They do hold a club option for $12 million after next season, and McCann is going to find a gap here in right center. He'll stop at first base.
Now Kuroda trying to go with the two-seam fastball that when pitchers can do it well, they throw it at the hip, that right hip of the left-handed batter. He usually gives up on it and runs back over the inside corner. But there, that got too much of the plate. And Brian McCann, who is getting dialed in for the opener, nice little smile there as he shows that he is truly a professional hitter.
Well, it's time for the gun show now. Here's the cleanup hitter, Dan Ugla. And Chris, he did some lifting in the offseason.
He might have done some push-ups in between innings.
Massive. Swing and a miss there. Ugla added more muscle over the winter. Heavy weightlifting with his brother back home in Franklin, Tennessee. He says, you know, I just got as big and strong as I could. Probably gained about 15 or 20 pounds. Says he still feels athletic or trim, but boy, if he gets behind it, he's going to hit a few this year for the Braves. Kuroda misses inside right there.
Well, you do that work in the off season, and you come into spring training, you look great, and you hope that that will carry you as you get to the dog days of summer through the middle, and you can still have some of that strength. But I don't think he'll maintain that size. There's just not enough hours in the day with games and travel, but it's a good way to start.
Atlanta Heat either. Here's the 1-1 from Kuroda. 2 outs here, bottom 1. This is inside. So often, Chris, we hear guys say, well, yeah, you know, this offseason I kind of got away from the weights. I did plyometrics. I was doing this and that. Not Dan Uggla. He's down there in the basement doing curls.
Yeah, it's beach body there, and he's got one thing in mind when he swings. That's to hit a home run.
He had a career-high 36 last year. Kuroda gets the strike there.
And had a very impressive hitting streak last season as well.
Tell you what, he had as up and down a season as you can have. He began a hitting streak on July 5th. He was batting .173 through 86 games, but then during the streak, hit .377, 15 homers, 32 RBIs. That's an Atlanta record. 33-game hit streak last year for Dan Uggla. 2-2 from Kuroda, and Uggla hits it to left field. Justin Maxwell makes a nice running catch. The Braves will strand 1. We are through 1 inning here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex. Yankees 1, Braves nothing. Back after this. Coverage of spring training baseball as Evan Longoria and the Rays take on Jimmy Rollins and the Philadelphia Phillies. Major League Baseball spring training presented by Gillette on ESPN. That's tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Dwayne Wise, the Yankees center fielder, hits one to center field as we come back. Michael Bourne is under that. Steve Berthune, Chris Singleton along the way. Top 2 here from Walt Disney World. The Yankees lead the Braves 1-0.
Brandon Beachy, 1 pitch, 1 out. Going to make up for a extended pitch count in the first inning. 29 pitch first inning for Brandon Beachy. And as we mentioned, he's a guy that does not go deep into games, and that's something they need him to work on this year, be more efficient with his pitches. Got a really good 4-pitch mix. You'll see that rising fastball. He's got a 12-6 curveball he likes a lot, a really good slider. And there's a changeup in there as well. Chris Dickerson is the right fielder for the Yankees this afternoon, off to a 5-for-26 start to his spring. In there at a .192, no home runs and 2 RBIs. Dickerson, a good athlete. Played baseball at the University of Nevada, Reno. And very interested in broadcasting. Was going to school for broadcasting. He's done some internships and in the offseason. So this is a guy that's got pretty good balance. He needs some balance here in this at-bat.
Stayed off that one nicely from Beachy. So has he contacted you for some pointers?
We talked down around the cage, and I wanted to point him in your direction. I said, you know, there's the pro right there, Steve Review.
Yeah. Swing and a miss there from Dickerson. That's a little change of pace in there at 80 miles an hour from Brandon Beachy. So far, 13 innings of Major League play-by-play experience. So pro, I'm not quite sure is going to work. 2-2 here.
Yeah, I know. Ready to
And we just talked about this. 29 pitches in the first inning, and now, Chris, you got that quick fly out, but he's gone 3-2 here to the number 8 hitter.
You know, finishing guys off, and you can get ahead in the count, but really being able to mentally know what you want to do and go there. I talked to some of the Braves pitchers today, whether it's Craig Kimbrell, Brandon Beachy, and they've got all the physical tools, but it's just learning the sequences, understanding where they need to put a pitch, and it doesn't have to be a strike all the time.
Dickerson fouls one off. Constanza on the run, and boy, Jose Constanza's been busy here through 5 outs so far. 2 down. Constanza, as we mentioned, Chris, had a couple of in-betweeners, and now he's chasing this one down in foul ground.
A guy who really came on the scene last year as Jason Hayward struggled, was injured, and provided a spark, and continue to do that. You're a player like Constanza, you've been around, and want to continue to make impressions on your manager and really bring some energy to a club that sometimes can seem a little bit flat.
And of course, every time he makes a play, you want to go Constanza. Here's Justin Maxwell. Maxwell, the left fielder for the Yankees today. 12 for 33 this spring. 364. He's driven in 8 runs, so good spring so far for Justin Maxwell. And the outfield mix there on the Yankee depth chart. Beachy gets the strike. Brandon Beachy down the stretch last year made 5 starts in August and went 3-0. But then did not win a game in September. In fact, Atlanta, and this was probably true for just about everybody, every Brave starter last year in September, Atlanta lost all 5 games he started in that final month of the season as they lost the National League wild card on the season's final day.
What a tough way to go into the offseason if you were a Brave last year. I was talking to Frank Wren and asked him, Braves general manager, how long did it take? How hard was it to turn the page? And he said in talking to players and coaches, no one watched the postseason until it got midway through the World Series because guys just couldn't stomach to see baseball after having collapsed the way that they did.
Lost 20 of their final 30 games. And watched the Cardinals get that last, the only National League wild card spot, and went on, of course, to win the World Series. This year there will be 2 wild card spots. Braves lost 17 of their last 25, 8 of their last 10. Maxwell looks at a ball. They still had a 3-game lead last year with 5 to play. But that September did not work out. They lost 18 of 27 in the final month. And they watched the postseason along with the rest of us.
Yeah, you turn the page and you use that as motivation in 2012.
Beachy goes full again here. Ground ball Prada with third. And Beachy is out of the second inning. We go bottom 2 here from Disney. The Yankees lead the Braves 1-0. switch hitter in Major League history with 400 career home runs and a career average over 300. 7-time All-Star, 1999 NL MVP. All that coming for the only franchise for which he's ever played. Braves took him first overall in the 1990 draft. He is not here. He had a knee injury the morning before he announced he would retire at the end of this year, mostly because of knee problems. Freddie Freeman lines one to Mark Teixeira. Freeman is out, one away. How about that for Iron Chris Singleton? Warming up, knows he's got a news conference later in the afternoon to announce that this will be the last year. And then he hurts his knee and he get a meniscus cleanup, so they think he'll be ready for the home opener. So it doesn't appear to be serious. Here's where he ranks all time.
And the sooner the better that he gets back. If they can get him back sometime in mid-April or even late April, just to make sure he's 100% healthy. This guy, when he's in the lineup, let's just say if he's 75 or 80%, his production is usually as good as most Major League third basemen.
Jason Hayward fouls one back here. Hayward, well, a slow start here, Chris. He's been a work in progress all winter long with Greg Walker and that Braves video coaching staff. 12 for 63 in there at $190 this spring. 2 home runs and 8 RBIs.
Well, one thing that they've been working on with Jason Hayward is to get a little softer with that front side, that front foot. Last year it was really quick. He'd get down early and then have to really use the upper body because he wasn't able to incorporate the legs. And that's one thing. They want to be able to get everything working together, get the lower half working with the top half, and get a better path off the bat.
Swing and a miss there, and Hayward strikes out. It's hard to remember, Chris. This guy's only 22 years old, turns 23 in August. Seems like he's been around. We've been talking about him for so long at such a high level.
Well, 2 spring trainings ago, all the talk was Jason Hayward, and the legend was building. The guy hitting balls off of the general manager's car out there beyond the right field fence, and that carried into the season. First at bat, home run, and an all-star in his rookie year.
Here's Andrelton Simmons, and this is a guy who has been much talked about as he takes a strike here, the shortstop, in a battle for that shortstop job with Tyler Pasternicki. Both guys only 22 years old. Simmons out of a 1 year in A-ball, and they have been raving about his defense.
Well, he was a pitcher in junior college and got clocked at 98 miles per hour on the fastball, but his teams wanted to sign him as a pitcher. He wanted to play shortstop, and the Braves gave him his wish.
You keep hearing the term skills. He's got tremendous baseball skills. It's hard to keep in mind he has not played above A-ball. 131 games at Class A Lynchburg last season, where he did hit .311. But he's been so good this spring, they're talking about maybe he's the opening day shortstop. A little chopper there. Chavez is in, and Simmons is out. So it's a quick second inning for Hiroki Kuroda. The Yankees lead 1-0 after 2. Major League Baseball proud to support the fight against cancer. Honor someone you know who is going to bat against breast cancer. Visit honorarybatgirl.com. Now we're joined by Coach Greg Walker is getting the headsets on in the Braves dugout. And Chris, you and I had a chance to talk to Greg before the game today, talking about all the work he's put in with Jason Hayward and how much he loved his attitude, the way he absorbs the information, takes it one step at a time, and is really trying to work out of the funk he developed last year as a result of all those injuries. And
he's not worried about this kid at all. There's a lot of pressure on him, but obviously the mental side is solid. You can look at a player and say, well, he had some injuries last year, a shoulder issue, but even beyond that, once he comes back to the field, you don't know how he is mentally. A hitting coach will know.
All right, let's join Greg Walker now. Greg, Steve Berthium and Chris Singleton, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
Hey, guys, pleasure.
We were talking about the conversation we had before the game and all the work that you guys and Scott Fletcher, your assistant, have put in with the video and with the cage, and I know Chipper's been involved as well. Describe, if you will, your off-season working with Jason Hayward.
Well, we had the ability to work with him in Atlanta this winter. He lives in Atlanta. Me and Fletcher, both from Georgia, so we spent a lot of time this winter starting in January, 2 days a week, and kind of got to know him to start with, and we started the process, and we watched a lot of film with him, looking at what he did in 2010, and our goal was not to change anything, just get him back to where he was in 2010. He's done a great job of coming to work every day and real consistent with his mindset about what he wanted to accomplish. And we still got some work to do, but he's made big strides.
Greg, flips or toss is something that's an integral part of a Major League Baseball player's routine. You take guys out on the field. It's normally done in the cage. You take them out on the field. Tell us why you do it on an open field.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of coaches doing that now. It's to see ball flight, the spin of the ball, the flight of it, the trajectory. And I think the player gets a little better feel for what he's doing than he does in the cage. And, we've got access to it down here, so it's something we've implemented this spring that the players like, and we'll probably continue to do some of it during the season, especially for extra players.
Eduardo Nunez looks at a ball from Brandon Beachy. The Yankees hitting here in the top of the third. Greg, how much, I don't know, you weren't here for most of it, but how much do you think Hayward's problems last year involved injuries? And there was a shoulder and a wrist and a bunch of things, it seemed. How's his health right now? How does that translate from last year to this year?
I wasn't here last year, obviously, so I couldn't comment on his injuries from last year. All I can do is go by what he's told me, and he told me they did affect him. And, I think he became a real just a upper body hitter last year, and it could have been from the injuries. But we tried to get the lower half and the upper half synced back up. And he's been real good this spring. The results haven't always been there, but his work habits have been really good. Right now, really, our battle is to get him to foot down on time in a rhythmic and be at foot down on time so he can make good decisions and put a good swing on the ball.
Greg, thanks very much. We appreciate your time.
Okay, pleasure.
Thanks, Coach.
Eduardo Nunez leads off the Yankee third with a double down the left field line. And that'll bring up Robbie Cano, the man in scoring position. The Yankees already leading 1-0 here.
One thing we know about Nunez is he can swing the stick. A guy who did a great job last year when Derek Jeter went on the disabled list and tight AL East race. Provided solid offense, and they didn't miss a beat. Now Jeter to come back and get that 3,000th hit and keep the train moving on down the tracks.
And it's funny about Jeter last year. The time off he missed during the middle of that season really seemed to help him down the stretch. Nunez fakes off second. And a Robinson Cano takes a strike. Third member of our broadcast team today, back down the field at Rob Parker.
Hey, guys. The other day in Lakeland, Jim Leland went out of his way, the Tiger manager, to give Robinson Cano a hug, and he couldn't stop raving. He said, hey, I love my own players, but when you look at this guy, Cano, with his swing, with his play in the field and everything, he just thinks he is the budding superstar of baseball, and as we know, this year he'll be batting third in the Yankee lineup, and normally that's the best hitter in the team, usually bats third. So that says a lot about Robinson Cano.
Beachy looks back at second. Well, Rob, you've got A-Rod's getting older. We know Jeter's getting older. Mark Teixeira has had his slumps up and down. And Cano really is, I guess, the offensive glue in that lineup.
And Jim Leland needing a second baseman. That love intensifies when he sees Robinson Cano. I'm sure he salivates and says, man, if I could have him.
9 guys that may play that. Cano squeaks one through. They'll wave Nunez. Constanza misplays the ball in left field, and Cano has himself second base. The Yankees have a 2-0 lead. That one just squeaked through the 5-5 hole.
And once he got to the outfield there, just a little careless on Costanza's part. You have a chopper like that. Takes a while to get to the outfielder. You don't have a play at the plate, so you got to make sure that you keep that hitter off second base, keep the double play in order. That all contributes to what we talked about in the beginning with Beachy being able to go deeper in the ballgame, keep the pitch counts down. Sure, Beachy's got to do his work, but you also need your guys behind you to play the game the right way and ultimately give you a chance to pitch deep into the ball games.
They rule that a single and an RBI, give Constanza an E7 out there in left field, so it's 2-0 Yankees here, top third. And here's Mark Teixeira. That one in there at 91. We've seen him dip 80 with the change, low 90s for the fastball.
He didn't see the open ball. You see it?
Usually, Chris, Teixeira is sitting into some crazy shift. It's just spring training, so they're basically straight away, the Braves, defensively. But that's been a real issue, and it's one reason why we talked about this earlier, why we may see him bunt more this year, just to keep people honest.
And Yankees fans are probably saying we don't want to see that too much.
Right.
Every now and then, maybe if he's scuffling a little bit, One thing that bunting can do for a hitter is it can make you slow everything down and really track the baseball. And maybe it's just a sac bunt, but it could really get you going in a way that you didn't even realize the benefit of it.
Teixeira gets a hitter's. You know, he was asked about this in the off-season, Mark Teixeira, and he said, you know, I'd be shocked if I bunted 5 out of 100 at bats, but it's definitely something that I'll consider. I mean, if a pitcher is out there throwing a shutout, we need some kind of offense, I'll consider laying one down. It's not like he's suddenly going to, you know, turn into Joe Morgan or Davey Concepcion up there, but it's something that they need to think about, especially with him hitting into shift so often, which is one of the reasons why his average as a left-handed hitter has been down.
Sure. And if the guy behind you is red hot, there might be some nights where you say, you know what, I'm going to set the table for him. And we'll put some runs up on the board. It's all about championships in New York. And they realize what needs to happen to get there.
Another 3-2 pitch here from Brandon Beachy, and Teixeira is going to make him work a little bit more here. 29 pitch first inning for Brandon Beachy. He's at 55 right now. Chris, they just need him to go deeper into games. I know they have a great bullpen, but they don't want to go through with Ventrable, those 3 guys, what they went through last year with all the appearances. Teixeira lines one to short, and there is Andrelton Simmons going top shelf, and there's one away here in the Yankee third.
Good base running there by Robinson Cano, knowing where the shortstop is positioned and not getting doubled off. A lot of times you guys see a guy break or get out of no man's land towards third base and comes an easy out on the double play. But Cano there paying attention to the details. I like it. And you dropped a little of Trim. What did you say?
What do I got?
Back into the Braves bullpen.
Oh, Ventrable.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, they don't like that. It's the trio of O'Flaherty, Venters, and Kimbrel. They were so dynamic last year. We'll talk about those 3 as the game wears on. We expect to see Craig Kimbrel pitch today. And I know you were talking to Kimbrel, and we were in the Braves clubhouse. Everyone was calling him Roy as a joke after his Rookie of the Year award. But they had the Nasty Boys in Cincinnati, and they've had other great bullpen trios. Here in Atlanta, it's Ventrable, Venters, Kimbrel, O'Flaherty. So many appearances. Look at all those appearances, and many people point to this, Chris, is one of the reasons the Braves faltered down the stretch is because by the time they got to the end of September, these guys were gassed.
Well, that was a big part of it, but I think equally the fact that you didn't have Tommy Hanson, you didn't have Jair Jurgens, so combined, missed around 15, 16 starts.
Yep.
That makes a difference. And you had those guys most of the season, so you don't have them down the stretch. Sure, it was a collapse, but had you had what you started the season and what you had midway through the season, you'd have been fine.
That changeup has been a nice pitch for Brandon Beachy. Abani is way out in front of that one, and we're even at 2-2. Those 3 guys, by the way, they're not thrilled with Ventrable. They'd like something a little sexier. The Untouchables is out there, if you like that. All right. 91. So once again, Beachy goes, just going off the scoreboard clock here. 80 on the change and 91 of the fastball.
Well, one guy they'll look to, the Braves this year, as far as having a long man out in the bullpen, player who started in the past, Chris Medlin. A nice versatility for the Braves, an event that the starter doesn't go too deep into the ball game.
Number of candidates back there. They expect Pete Moylan back from his injury as Ibanez goes deep to right field, and Hayward is there and robs a home run. Jason Hayward taking a home run away. Cano is taken off. And then I don't think they've touched second base yet.
Well, as a former outfielder, this is a thing of beauty. Hayward getting back. He's got the bare hand, able to feel for where the wall is.
That might be the spring training web gem of the year. Jason Hayward in right field, taking a home run away from Ibanez. Now look at Cano here, Chris. We can't see when he took off there, but he certainly was on the base. But the Yankees were closely watching Cano at third to make sure they didn't need some kind of a discussion with the umpires. And here's Eric Chavez. Looks at a ball.
Yeah, that's a play that a right-handed outfielder probably doesn't make, because you don't have the benefit of that bare hand to reach out, know where you are on the warning track, and get maximum height on the jump.
Eric Chavez had an RBI single in the first. He'll have another one here for the Yankees. And now it's 3-0 New York against Brandon Beachy here in the third. Boy, Jason Hayward showing some athleticism out there in right field for the Braves. And now we'll go out. Roger McDowell will have a discussion with Brandon Beachy, who, with the way this pitch count's going, may not be out there for too much longer. Roger McDowell is the Braves pitching coach, and big topic of discussion with him and Freddie Gonzalez, Chris, in the offseason was the use of that bullpen, and those three guys we mentioned earlier. They have to find a way to tone that down, especially early in the year, and a big part of that would be starters like Brandon Beachy here going deeper into games.
Definitely true, and definitely true for every Major League ball club and pitching staff. But one thing also, last year the Braves had a lot of extra inning ball games, so that didn't help in that effort of keeping those appearances down for those big-time relievers that they have.
Cervelli to right field. Hayward makes a routine catch there, and that ends the Yankee third. They'll have a 3-0 lead. The highlight, though, was this anything but routine catch. Jason Hayward going up and robbing a home run. There's your web gem. We're back bottom third after this. World of Sports complex at the Walt Disney World Resort in Florida has emerged as the pinnacle of the youth athlete experience, hosting an average of 300 plus events and 300,000 athletes annually. ESPN televises over 20 events from the complex and various Disney resorts each year. To take your game to the next level and find out how your team can compete here, visit ESPN wideworldofsports.com. That's ESPN WWOS.com.
This place is unbelievable. Got a tour yesterday.
Yeah, you were all over it yesterday.
Michael Colangelo took me around, and I was blown away at everything that's done here and the testing they do on the technology and equipment before it gets some of these big league games as well.
So Jason Hayward there, his catch to take a home run away from Raul Ibanez was the highlight of the Braves third, but they're down 3-0 here, batting against Hiroki Kuroda. Jose Constanza fouls one back.
Solid numbers last year. Getting called up after spending half the year down in AAA, but over 300 batting average was a nice little spark that the Braves needed at that time.
Down 0-2, and he slaps a base hit up the middle. Jose Constanza as the Braves underway as they lead off the third. ESPN Spring Training is brought to you by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. Here's Brandon Beachy. The Braves are not playing the DH today. The Yankees are, so Beachy will hit. Chris, left field is something they need to figure out here in Atlanta with Chipper Jones out, because Chipper out, of course, means that Martin Prado comes into third base. And if Chipper has some injury issues, then this is final season. We may see more of that this year, which means the Braves need some consistent answer out there for left field. No problem with Kuroda, and Beachy moves Constanza up to second base.
And right now you're looking at Matt Diaz or Eric Hinsky kind of platooning. You got your lefty-righty matchup there, but there's also talk that the Braves could acquire Cubs outfielder Marlon Byrd, and he's a player that I think could really help this ball club. He produce runs, but he also can be another voice into the ear of Jason Hayward. And I think if you acquire Marlon Byrd, you get a great big league player productive wise, and then you also get somebody to help Jason Hayward as well.
Here's Michael Bourne, leadoff batter. Looks at a strike from Hiroki Kuroda. Here's the projected lineup for the Braves this year. So you've got Bourne in the leadoff spot. You know, if you look at the numbers, Prado actually has better numbers as a leadoff guy than does Michael Bourne, who usually hits better in the two-hole. But with Bourne's speed, you'll see him lead off McCann, Ugla, Freeman, Hayward. And then there's that left field mix, and of course the shortstop situation has yet to resolve itself as well.
And Martin Prado is really, in my opinion, more comfortable at third base. I think in left field, gave it his best and improved out there, but all around, when you talk about a guy's comfort level defensively and how that can carry into the batter's box, he's a guy that when he's playing in the infield, playing third base, I think it will impact his hitting in a very positive way.
Kuroda up 0-2 here. Constanza the runner on second. Cervelli does a nice job blocking it.
It's really difficult to get some continuity going when you have a Hall of Famer like Chipper Jones, that when he's healthy, you want him in there to help you win. But when you're not sure from series to series or week to week if he's going to be able to go, then you put pressure on some of the younger guys to be ready at any moment's notice to try to give you that production. And I think that as the season progresses and Chipper goes into this final year, that it's going to help the Braves to iron out third base and what they want to do over this season and the next couple of years.
Bourne looks at a ball, and as difficult as this National League East is going to be this year, you got 4 good teams in there if you include Washington, and with their rotation, there's no reason why you shouldn't. You're going to want a consistent lineup out there, and I don't know if you want to go a whole season in this division with a Constanza, Matt Diaz platoon out there in left field if you have to move Prado to third base. Inside now, and Kuroda has gone full on Michael Bourne.
One thing about Kuroda is he can cut it to the inside of the lefties, and he also can run that two-seamer that starts inside and goes right back over the inside corner. He left one a little too much over the plate for Brian McCann earlier in this ball game, but developing that precision is key, especially in Yankee Stadium. You don't want to miss with that pitch where you're trying to get it right on the inside corner and it catches too much plate and the lefty's able to drop it over that short porch and right.
We've seen him step off a couple of times and tell Cervelli to run through the signs again. Bourne spanks one down the right field line. That's foul. Kuroda began the spring by fine-tuning his slider. He feels he needs to show that to lefties in order to be effective, has the good split finger. Joe Girardi began the spring saying that the only 2 guys in this rotation who were guaranteed spots were CC Sabathia and Hiroki Kuroda. That tells you what they think of this guy. They're paying him $10 million this year.
Coming off of a very, very good season last year, probably his best season here in the major leagues, and ERA just over 3.07, over 200 innings.
He's a workhorse. Bourne swing and a miss. Chris Singleton, we were talking about the National League East and what a tough division it may be. It's sort of a group of death, if you want to use a soccer term. Your impact players for the NL East.
Yeah, those are, I think, pretty self-explanatory when you look at Jason Hayward and what he can be for this ball club. Being healthy, being on track. Josh Johnson, clearly the ace of the Marlins staff, and really a guy in the National League that can win the Cy Young if he's healthy from wire to wire. David Wright, obviously the Mets aren't expected to do a whole lot, but it'd be interesting to see if David Wright's productive. Does he get moved? And does he help another team? Chase Utley, question mark with his health. And Steven Strasburg will be the opening day starter for the Washington Nationals. Will he be able to give you a good 140 to 160 innings this year?
Nationals took a hit. It looks like their closer Drew Storen will have to open the season on the DL, but they have ready and waiting Brad Lidge, who may end up closing games early in the season for Davey Johnson's Nationals. Here's Martin Prado, 1-1. Braves looking for a 2-out RBI hit. They trail 3-0 bottom third. Constanza the runner on second. Check swing fouled off.
One thing Martin Prado talked about this year is he's really trying to get back to driving the ball the other way to right center and right field. After an all-star season 2 years ago, he found himself pressing last year and getting anxious and wanting to turn and jerk the ball and drive it and try to hit more home runs, and he suffered because of that.
Prado chases a high heater. He'll sit. And Kuroda is out of the third inning here. So far for the Yankees, 3 runs on 6 hits. We go top 4. They lead the Braves 3-0. To ESPN's telecast of Major League Baseball spring training presented by Gillette. Steve Berthume, Chris Singleton along the way. Here from ESPN's Wide World of Sports complex. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-0. And here in the top of the 4th inning, Brandon Beachy will face the Yankee outfield. It will be Dwayne Wise, Chris Dickerson, and Justin Maxwell. Been a work in progress today for Brandon Beachy. Gone deep on just about every hitter. A lot of 3-2 counts. The pitch count is way up there, and we talked about how important it is for him to go deeper into games. That is not happening here today. He misses there. 68 pitches now, Brandon Beachy. And we are No outs here in the 4th inning.
You look at this point of spring for starter to get up around 90 pitches. Really get himself closer to that benchmark of 100, which is usually the magic number during the regular season.
Two to Wise. Did he go? Ring him up, says home plate umpire Chris Siegel. Let's get an update now from our Baseball Tonight studios. Carl Ravitch. Ravi.
Hi, Steve. I'm sure you were watching this. The Mariners got off to a fast start. 6 a.m. Eastern time this morning. They're playing in Japan against the A's, a 2-game series. Dustin Ackley had a big game. He drove in that go-ahead run in the 11th earlier, had a home run. And Ichiro went 4 for 5 in this game. The first Mariner with 4 hits in a opening day game since Ken Griffey Jr. back in 1990. Felix Hernandez, a no decision, 8 innings. He was outstanding. So was Brandon McCarthy in the loss.
Carl, thanks. So how about that, Chris Singleton? The Mariners go over there. They lose a couple of exhibition games against some Japanese teams and lose badly, in fact. And they play the Oakland A's. They get a dramatic win, extra innings.
Now, I'm sure Ichiro is very comfortable being back home and playing, and went out and put on a show.
Former Blue Wave great over there, Ichiro. The hitter is Chris Dickerson, the right fielder for the Yankees today.
Did you see the picture of Ichiro when they were getting off the plane and walking through and they had pictures? I mean, he was
like
decked
the
out.
Beatles.
Top hat. He was looking smooth.
He knew what he was getting into. He was like, all right, I got to put on a good show here.
Yeah, he looked like a rock star.
Well, he is a rock star over there. There's an Ichiro museum you can go over and visit in Tokyo and take a look at all his memorabilia that's over there. Dickerson flew out to left field his first at bat here. Yankees lead 3-0, top 4. Left field, Constanza didn't get a real good read on that. Sort of frozen there. It can't be any fun playing outfield on a day like this. You've got a high sun, a lot of clouds up there.
It's not fun at all. Spring training in Florida or in Arizona. I think Arizona's guys are a little higher, a little tougher to judge how far the baseball is going. But it makes it worse if you're a young kid and you're trying to make an impression and make a team. You go into the ball game, 6th, 7th, 8th inning. That first one gets hit right to you and you can't see it. Boy, it's not the impression you want to make.
Justin Maxwell, swing and a miss there. Brandon Beachy, interesting thing about him, Chris, he's almost equally effective versus lefties as he is righties. Maxwell up the middle. There's Simmons at short. Freddie Freeman has it, and Brandon Beachy has himself a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning. We'll go bottom 4 here at Disney. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-0. At ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex, March 28, 1997, the complex was formally opened as the spring training home of the Braves. Fred McGriff, the crime dog, had the first ever home run here. Deion Sanders had the first hit, stolen base, and run in the history of this wonderful complex. Welcome back, Steve Berthume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. Braves here hosting the Yankees today, and they trail 3-0. We are in the bottom of the fourth inning against the Yankees' Hiroki Kuroda. In steps the Braves catcher, Brian McCann, hitting in the 3-hole today and had a base hit in the first inning. This is a great place. They got everything here. I mean, you talked about your tour of the facilities. I mean, there's field after field. It's whatever you want. Soccer, lacrosse, baseball.
Yeah, I believe there are they told me only 80 days out of the year that there's not some kind of game being played here at this complex. It's so great to see all the high school kids and even some of the college kids out there, whether it's lacrosse or track and field. Beautiful complex.
McCann, second base. Cano was there. Kuroda has his first out. Yeah, there's field after field here. And everywhere you look, Chris, as we drove in, there were busloads. There's a girls' soccer team all dressed up. There's a boys' lacrosse team. There's track athletes running all over here, soccer players. I mean, it's just everywhere you look. It's a tremendous facility and a great opportunity for the kids to come here and play.
Yeah, and even from the major league standpoint, there's so much space here and so many fields that they could actually host 2 major league ball clubs in this facility, in my opinion.
Dan Ugla, base hit to right field. So the Braves have their third hit of the game.
And Dan Ugla, we talked earlier about how he's got one thing in mind, and that's to hit a home run. But their pitch location got out a little bit over the plate and down. And because his bat was in the zone for a good long time, was able to make a slight adjustment and take a measly single to right. Just a measly single for
There was a
Dan
time
Ugla
last season where he would have happily taken that when he was hitting 173 over his first 86 games. Here's Freddie Freeman. But if they, Chris, can get a full year of the Dan Ugla they saw second half of last season, this could be a deadly lineup. Ugla last year in his final 75 games, 301 with 24 home runs.
Well, that's a case, though, Bert, of it all evens out. I mean, Ugla's been a guy where times where he starts the season slow and he gets going. I remember when Freddie Gonzalez was the manager of the Marlins and Ugla was his second baseman, and Ugla was struggling to start the year. First month and a half, I was talking to Freddie. He said, you know what, his numbers will be there at the end of the year. And you know what? They were.
Ugla off first. Freddie Freeman takes a strike. Freddie's hit 4 home runs in his last 2 games. Speaking of guys who have just a little pop in that bat.
I think sometimes when we hope that a guy will be significantly different than what he's been, or dreaming. And Ugla is who he is, very productive, but to see that April all the way through September of just killing it, I don't know that you're going to see that.
Freeman right back to Kuroda. Can they turn 2? There it is. Kuroda gives up a base hit, but he is out of the fourth inning here. The Braves with 3 hits through 4. They trail 3-0. We're back after this.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to ESPN's Wide World of Sports Complex. Steve Berthume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. The Yankees and the Braves here. Spring training baseball on ESPN. Yankees up in the fifth here, 3-0. It's Eduardo Nunez to lead it off against Brandon Beachy, who has struggled so far. Beachy, 77 pitches through the first 4 innings.
Nunez has squared up the baseball twice this afternoon.
He has flown out to left and he has doubled. Mentioned Brandon Beachy. Almost equally effective versus lefties as righties. Left-handed batters last year hit 236. Righties 237 against Brandon Beachy.
Naturally, lefties slug a little higher against him, but there is a consistency in as far as hits allowed.
Nunez, shortstop, and Drelton Simmons on away. ESPN Fantasy Baseball is back on ESPN.com. Access real-time scoring. You can gain expert advice, manage your team, and do it all on the go from your mobile phone. ESPN Fantasy Baseball. You can play for free at ESPN.com/fantasybaseball. Of course, one guy, Chris, if you're thinking about, hey, I need steals for my fantasy league team, you got to get Michael Bourne, 61 last year.
Yeah, he's a burner. No question about that. Consistent year in and year out.
Just ahead of some other guys, Coco Crisp and Brett Gardner. Here's Robinson Cano. Constanza's there at the track in left center.
Great pass at the baseball. And good at bat by Robinson Cano. Those are things that don't show up in a box score. You'll look at Cano's average this spring and say 196, but unless you've watched, you don't know what kind of contact he's making. And that's an out there. It's an offer, but it's a very good at bat, good pass at the baseball. For a veteran like him going into the season, you want those kinds of swings, that kind of contact as you get ready to head north.
Tell you what, I'm on the Twitter all the time, and I'm getting fantasy questions all week as guys are having their drafts this week just before the regular season opens. At least the continental regular season opens a week from tonight on ESPN. The Cardinals play at the brand new Miami Marlins ballpark, the side of the old Orange Bowl. But guys are always asking, hey, what about this guy? You get a lot of that on your Twitter?
No, I'm not as Twitter savvy as you are. You're kind of the Ask Bert.
You got to get on the Twitter. Teixeira Constanza, boy, he's been busy out there and left. And that takes care of the Yankee fifth, so a more efficient Brandon Beachy there. Braves will hit bottom 5. They trail 3-0.
It's like the first day of school.
Ooh, nervousness. Gosh, the butterflies.
Once you get through the first class / at bat, you're ready to go and the nerves calm down.
Regardless of how many opening days you've been involved in,
It's a special day. Every year a dream comes true. I still get butterflies.
Welcome back to Disney. Steve Berthume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. Jason Hayward steps in for the Braves here, bottom 5, trailing the Yankees and Hiroki Kuroda 3-0. Chris, I know the Mariners and the A's had everybody up at the crack of dawn this morning in Japan, playing the official start to the Major League Baseball season. The domestic or continental version gets underway a week from tonight on ESPN. Pretty cool. Cardinals and Marlins at the new ballpark.
And ESPN Radio. Boog Shambi and I will be calling the Marlins and Cardinals at Marlins Park there.
Now, I want you to go out.
AKA Fish Tank.
I want you to go out and check out not only the aquarium.
I'm going to be tweeting pictures all over and tagging you in all of them.
Tweet some pictures of the aquarium. They have a live aquarium behind home plate, which they say has been built with shatterproof glass, and hopefully they're correct about that because we don't want any issues. Hayward, first base. Oh, it eats up to Shera. Now, Hayward going to stop at first base. We saw this happen at third base to the Tigers. Miguel Cabrera took one off the eye, and Teixeira, Chris, almost had that happen here.
Yeah, Jason Hayward, one thing is coming over the top with that swing. He can hook some balls right now. That's one of the things they're trying to iron out a little bit so he gets a better rotation on the ball and gets carry. But when you're that first baseman and he does hook one on the ground, you get a harder infield as the sun's baking this infield, doesn't have water on it. You get some of those bad hops later in the game.
So the Braves get their leadoff man on here in the bottom of the 5th, and in steps what many people believe will be the shortstop of the future. It's Andrelton Simmons. The question is, can he hit? Grounded to third base in his first at bat in the 2nd inning. Now he's up here with a runner on first and nobody out in the 5th, down 3-0. Big cut and miss there.
Simmons last year, Carolina League batting title, 311.
That at Lynchburg. And they love his glove. Now he's in a battle here with Tyler Pasternicki for the shortstop job. Two 22-year-olds. Jack Wilson is here as well, so he's a nice veteran insurance policy there. And just a good baseball player, too. But very interesting. They have a lot of possibilities at shortstop this year for the Braves, but they are raving about Simmons' glove. The question is, can he hit? Only 1 year at Class A ball.
And he's the guy that, around the Braves organization, they say has the higher ceiling as far as who will be the better shortstop and more of the exciting player. Tyler Pasternicki has played at higher levels than Simmons has and is probably closer to being big league ready, but the future will be Simmons.
They talk about the skills with Simmons, especially defensively. There goes Hayward on the pitch. Cervelli can't handle the throw, and Hayward is in there at second base. This shortstop battle, Chris, you mentioned this. Pasternicki, 117 games at AA and AAA last season. Missed the final month with an ankle sprain, turned 22 in December, but did hit .314, had 27 steals. He's, as you say, maybe a little bit more advanced, but Simmons maybe more highly skilled.
And Pasternicki had been given the job, knowing this offseason, coming into spring training, it was his job. Put some pressure on himself. Most guys aren't used to being in that position, and pressed. Simmons, playing with no pressure, came out of the gate and opened some eyes.
Big swing and a miss there from Simmons. Yeah, we talked to Greg Walker, and he said that was the thing that jumped out at him with Pasternicki. He thought from day one, here's a kid that's been trying to maybe do a little too much.
Yeah, and Tyler told me during batting practice that over the last week he's been able to slow things down, relax, and is able to perform much better. So with that said, it looks like he'll end up being the opening day shortstop if he continues on that path, unless Simmons just does something incredible over these next few games. I think the safe bet would be to go with Pasternicki to start.
It sort of parallels what the Red Sox have done with Jose Iglesias. They've got a veteran guy there in Mike Aviles who, they think Aviles has done it before, played shortstop in Kansas City, and he's been a good super utility guy. But, why rush Iglesias when you have other options? And I know Pasternicki is certainly not there with Aviles in terms of major league experience, but it's certainly the same case with Simmons. Why rush the kid when you don't have to?
And sometimes just coming out of the season for a veteran player wanting to get off to such a great start, you can dig a little hole. You take a young player like that, opening day, everything that's surrounded around opening day at home, on the road. You don't want a kid mentally to get buried because he gets off to a slow start, and then it's harder to get him back to the big leagues.
Simmons works the count full, but grounds out to Chavez, who retires him at first base. Getting ready for a big opening week of baseball on ESPN and ESPN2. April 4th, as Chris mentioned, Cardinals and Marlins, 7 Eastern on ESPN. The next day, you've got the Red Sox at the Tigers. You'll see Prince Fielder on ESPN2, followed by the Marlins and the Reds. April 6th, Giants, Diamondbacks, Royals and Angels. There's Albert Pujols. And April 8th, the first Sunday night game, White Sox at Texas, 8 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. That's a busy week.
A lot of flyer miles.
So remember, hydrate.
Yeah, I will hydrate. Got to do it. Yeah, we'll be in Miami and then Arizona Friday. Los Angeles, get to see Albert Pujols. Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch that AL West this year.
We'll be cranking out 2 or 3 baseball tonights a day once we really hit full speed next Wednesday. Here's Jose Constanza.
You make sure you stay hydrated. I don't want you to cramp up on the set.
It's happened before. I won't lie to you, and it's not pretty. It's man down in the studio once or twice. Hayward, the runner at second. Braves looking for their first run here. Constanza shows bunt, takes one high and inside.
Now, we were talking earlier about the spark that Constanza was last year after being called up from AAA Gwinnett. I think about the player the White Sox have in Alejandro De Aza.
And he's going to play center field this year.
Similar kind of player. He's got that energy. He's got that fearlessness. You go out there and play, and those guys can be valuable at critical points of the season when you need that jolt.
Constanza jolts one to center field. Wise running back, and he's under it. Hayward will tag second to third. And Constanza advances the runner, so the Braves have what they hope is their first run on third base with 2 outs. And the pitcher up, Brandon Beachy. The Braves not playing with a DH today. The Yankees are.
Every catch, pressure-wise, for Dwayne Wise, probably been a cakewalk since that incredible catch that he made to keep Mark Burley's perfect game alive a couple of years ago.
They put like his chalk outline up against the wall. They painted it on there.
And he didn't even start the game. Went in late for defense, and goodness, imagine that pressure. So everything is probably smooth sailing from that point in his career as far as defense.
Beachy fouls one off. The Yankees have already made it. It's a spring training game after all, so one change for the Yankees. Tyler Austin is now in there in left field, replacing Justin Maxwell for the Yankees. Hayward on third, 2 out. Braves trail 3-0.
And don't forget, Brandon Beachy was an infielder in college as well as a pitcher. He can swing it a little bit, not too far removed from that.
Went around there, and it's 0-2.
One swing could put the Braves within 1.
This is where, if you watch the Red Sox, this is where Bobby V would put on the suicide squeeze. Just for yucks, I think. It's been an interesting spring training in Fort Myers. Gets by Cervelli. Here comes Hayward, and he'll score.
You never want to do that as a pitcher and catcher, but even more so when you got the pitcher at the plate. You don't have to be so fine. Most times he'll get himself out, and there you give a run. With 2 outs, you just give the team a run. I know it's spring training, but those are things that you look to carry to the season. You want to make sure you eliminate those and leave them down here.
They scored a wild pitch as Beachy fouls one back. Of course, Kuroda is a guy that gets hitters out by getting them to chase pitches out of the strike zone. Hitters chased 31% of his pitches thrown out of the zone last year. That was 7th among the 81 pitchers who qualified in the National League. Beachy, he's taking his hacks up there. Kuroda retired 71% of the batters that swung on a pitch out of the strike zone. That's how he earns his money.
He's not in the business of issuing free passes. He's a guy that pounds the strike zone.
He was very effective. 46 pitches through 4, but he's run into some trouble here, and Brandon Beachy is making him work. Kuroda, if you're a Yankee fan, there are a couple of numbers that may concern you. He allowed a career-high 24 home runs last season. That was a big jump from his previous high of 15. The ground ball rate also dropped by 8%, and those are two trends that have been consistent throughout his 4 major league seasons. But he strikes guys out, doesn't walk a whole lot, and he throws a lot of innings, 196 innings, 202 innings the last 2 years respectively for the LA Dodgers. 2-2 to Beachy.
Well, there's no question Hiroki Kuroda will be tested this year playing in the American League East. You think about it out there in the NL West, some of those lineups he had to face. San Francisco Giants, not a juggernaut by any means. The San Diego Padres. You're not going to have those teams in the American League East, and you're not going to have a pitcher get an easy out on.
This is high there, and Beachy has worked the count full. Now, Brian Cashman has said the Yankees will discuss either today or tomorrow what they'll do with their rotation. Sabathia starts the opener next Friday at Tampa Bay. Kuroda pitches game 2, and that puts Kuroda on track to start the Yankees home opener. That's April 13th against the Angels. He finally retires Beachy there in a 3-2 pitch, and we are through 5 here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-1. Back to ESPN's telecast of Major League Baseball spring training presented by Gillette. Back here at Walt Disney World, Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. The Braves hosting the Yankees. New York bats here at the top of the 6th. They lead 3-1 against Brandon Beachy. And the Braves, it will be Raul Ibanez, Eric Chavez, and Francisco Cervelli here in the New York 6th. Brandon Beachy, very efficient last inning. He threw 77 pitches through 4, but then just had an 8-pitch 5th. Gets a strike in there to Ibanez, who had a home run taken away in his last at bat by Jason Hayward, who pulled a Spider-Man over the right field wall, right in front of the Braves bullpen out there. In what has been the highlight of the game, Hayward showing some athleticism out there, and more importantly for the Braves, showing that he feels good.
Yeah, had a perfect route to it. Also stole a base, and he's a guy that can do more than just hit. They're going to need him to do all the things this year. All the little things, if you will, which aren't so little. I'm talking about winning ball games. A stolen base here, sac fly, great route to a ball, robbing a base hit. All those things add up.
Left field, Constanza is under it. And there's one away here in the Yankee 6th. MLB.TV is baseball everywhere. Watch almost 100 out-of-market games live per week on your favorite devices. You can visit MLB.TV for details. So Banez flies out, and here's Eric Chavez playing third base today for the Yankees. So far, Chavez 2 for 2, 2 RBIs. RBI single in the first and again in the third. It's interesting, Chris, listening to the Yankee offseason and Hal Steinbrenner. He says they're going to cut payroll over the next 2 years. They want to be at that magic $189 million mark by the end of next season. And that would qualify the Yankees for a revenue-sharing refund under the terms of baseball's new collective bargaining agreement, which is almost really, in effect, a soft cap for the Yankees. Everybody wants to be under that 189 number by the end of next year, because then the big teams, as you know, the Yankees and the Red Sox and so forth, get some of that revenue-sharing money they've been putting out. They get some of that back now. It's a refund. Foul near the third base dugout, and it's on a play.
Now, in order to do that, you got to draft well and develop. That way you can bring your own prospects up, keep them under control. We've seen this spring training. Teams like Kansas City Royals, Milwaukee Brewers locking up some of their younger players, control those costs for the future.
That's what Hal Steinbrenner says. He said, you know, budgets matter, balance sheets matter. If you do well on the player development side and you have a good farm system, you don't need a $220 million payroll. Plenty of teams win without the kind of payrolls that we have. Chavez lifts one to right field, and Hayward is there. 2 down. You know, Hal Steinbrenner said, you know, they want to be at that magic number of 189 by 2014 and then stay under that for 2015. Hal Steinbrenner's quote, which I thought was tremendous, was, you know, I don't think it's an unrealistic goal. My goals are normally considered a requirement. That's from the owner. So if the owner has a goal, and his last name is Steinbrenner, it gets done. Here's Francisco Cervelli. So Beachy now, his last 2 innings here, Chris, has settled down very nicely. He's retired 9 straight.
Yeah, this can be a good finish to an outing that started a little rocky for him in the sense of how much he was laboring early.
Mentioned the payroll. The Yankees, they figured to begin this season at about $210 million. You know, they already have about $74 million in guaranteed contracts for 2014. Last season, the final payroll was about $213 million. So to get down to 189, there'll be some cuts.
Well, you'll have some contracts that will be coming up or coming to an end. Jeter's contract in the next 2 years will be up. That will be some money potentially off the books.
The big one is A-Rod.
Re-sign him.
A-Rod has 6 years and $143 million left. So some of these deals they're just going to have to live with. Teixeira's on the hook for the long term as well.
But hey, the way Jeter played last year.
Yeah, no issues. No issues at all.
They might have 5 more years in the tank.
Nick Swisher will be coming off the book soon.
I think one of the best things for Derek last year was that calf injury. Had a little time off there during the summer.
I think
didn't go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And, you know, got a lot of scrutiny for that. But ultimately, he knew what was important, his body, what he needed to do to help his team win. And I think that refreshed him. So you start looking at Alex Rodriguez, you look at Derek Jeter, and talked about the little aging left side of the infield. Joe Girardi, I think it'll be wise of him to be able to figure out ways to get them rest over the course of the season.
Beachy is cruising through the Yankee lineup here. He gets the strikeout of Cervelli, and the Yankees' 6th is over. They lead the Braves 3-1. This is your chance to run around the bases at Champions League. Spring training baseball on ESPN, brought to you by Dave & Buster's. And Ford, built Ford tough. As we wrap up our spring training coverage here from Walt Disney World. We'll be at Clearwater tomorrow for the Rays and the Phillies.
So did 57% of you. So let's hear for the Peanut fans out there. Close behind.
Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. We're going bottom sixth here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports at Disney. Going to talk to Joe Girardi in just a second here. His Yankees lead the Braves 3-1. Hiroki Kuroda is back out there on the mound for the Yankees. So let's talk to Joe Girardi now. Joe, Steve Berthiaume, and Chris Singleton up here. How you doing?
I'm great, Steve. Chris, how are you?
We're great. Thanks very much for your time. We sure appreciate it. Let's start with Kuroda. Your thoughts today?
Very good. Outstanding sinker today. His cutter's been good. He hasn't thrown a whole lot of splits. He's used it when he's needed, and he's mixed in that slow curveball that I like to see every once in a while. But I mean, you can see he fields his position. He throws strikes. He doesn't beat himself, and that's the most important thing.
Joe, anything you can tell us at this point about where you are in your decisions with the rotation?
Yeah, I mean, we still have some time. We'll start talking the end of this week. We want to see the guys, a little bit more as we make these decisions. Some of them starts are coming up as we move forward in this week, and then we'll have to make a decision. The good thing is I feel that we have 6 good starters for 5 spots, so it's going to be a tough decision.
Joe, Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez looking good this spring. As we know, they're getting a little older. How will you intentionally make some time for them to have a breather over the course of the summer so that they can be fresh for you down the stretch?
Yeah, I just like to say they're aging a little bit.
Like wine, fine wine?
Yeah. I'm going to give them some DH days. I'm going to give them some days off. I mean, that's the best way to do it. And I think one of the biggest decisions that I'll have to make is, do they need a complete day off or do they just need a DH day? And we'll make it, and I'll watch them as we move through the season.
Joe, thanks very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yankee manager Joe Girardi here with us on ESPN's coverage of spring training baseball. Yankees have made some changes. Mark Teixeira's day is over at first base. Eric Chavez moves from third to first. And over there at third is Doug Vernier for the Yankees, who's in on the grass here against Michael Bourne. Braves down 3-1, bottom 6 against Hiroki Kuroda. So it's sort of non-committal there from Joe Girardi about the names after Sabathia and Kuroda.
Keep it close to the vest.
That's what you got to do. Chris, I think there's a pretty good chance with you, if you look at the way things have gone, and you've got to think that Phil Hughes is going to be in there, maybe in the third spot. That seems almost sure. And when you look at the performances and the other names, you've got to think there's a decent chance that Michael Pineda is not with the team when they open the season. Michael Bourne has himself a bunt signal. More Yankees pitching now. Down in the field is Rob Parker. Rob, your thoughts?
Hey, Chris, we were debating last night about who should be the 5th starter. I believe it should be Phil Hughes, but you think it should be Freddie Garcia. Why?
Well, one thing we were talking about last night with the options that Joe Girardi has, one thing about Freddie Garcia, even though he's more so in the twilight of his career, this is a guy that's highly competitive, showing he could be effective at the major league level. And I think there's still some pride there. A guy that thinks he could be in the starting rotation. So it might be a little harder for him to assume that role going into the bullpen than it would be for a guy like Phil Hughes, who last year didn't have a good year, had injuries. And you could kind of transition him back and forth. But they say Phil Hughes looked great this spring. And that impression made in spring could really get him a spot in the starting rotation. Maybe be the 3 or 4 guy instead of the 5 guy.
But, Chris, when you think about Phil Hughes in the future, this guy's going to be around. He won 18 games 2 years ago, and injuries really derailed him. He's the future of the Yankees. I think the Yankees should just not mess with him, put him in the rotation, and let him do his thing.
He looks like, Rob, the guy that won 18 games for them 2 years ago. Of course, last year battled that dead arm and shoulder fatigue. But Nova is Nova. You know what you're getting there. He's been very good, and Freddie Garcia is a veteran presence. And if Pineda is struggling with a fastball velocity, struggling is probably too strong a word. It's been down a little bit. He's certainly bringing it at low 90s, but not the 97 that he came in as advertised from Seattle. So, that to me doesn't seem like an outrageous suggestion that he's not with the team at least to start the year. But we'll see.
Well, there's talks about his lack of conditioning, overweight a little bit coming into camp, and it's a different way of doing things. And maybe from a protection standpoint, it could be good for him, because New York is a stark contrast to Seattle as far as the media and what he's going to have to deal with. And you don't want a young kid who's got a lot of potential to step into a situation that he's not really ready for and have to deal with all the stuff off the field as far as answering the questions. So maybe you do hold him back, Give him a little time to get in shape, maybe go to the minor leagues. And when he comes up, he's ready.
And you look at, Chris, the way he pitched last year. After the All-Star break, Pineda 1-4. The ERA was 5.12. So there was some decline there as the season wore on. And, of course, a very young guy. Strikes people out. Showed up about 10 pounds overweight. Figured to work it off. And the fastball velocity was down. It's been up a little bit. It's been better, but not quite where it was in Seattle. Prado looks at a ball. You also wonder how he's going to play at Yankee Stadium. You know, he was not able to replicate the success he had against lefties in the first half of the season last year. Went from allowing an extra base hit every 17 at-bats against lefties to allowing an extra base hit every 12 at-bats. If you're going to pitch at Yankee Stadium, you had better get lefties out.
Is that 318 down the right field line?
Down the right field line. Yeah, it's a little short, and that's where the Mark Mulder jet stream is that Mark Mulder's always complaining about. Of course, he's a pitcher when he's with us on Baseball Tonight. The big one is in Texas. That drives Mark crazy. Prado fouls one. Last year with Seattle, Pineda made 9 starts against American League East teams and was hit pretty hard. A 4.73 ERA. Gave up 8 home runs in 53 1/3 innings.
Here's a nice situation for Martin Prado that he's going to see during the regular season. Big hole on the right side of the infield. He likes to hit that hole. Kuroda knows he's good at doing it and hasn't really wanted to give him a pitch that he can accomplish it with. So
trying to keep Bourne close over there.
Yeah, and see if Prado can make the adjustment here and find a way. You get that through the hole, and Bourne's going first to third.
Prado, a hot hitter, came into today leading the Grapefruit League with 21 hits. So far has grounded out and struck out today. Bourne holds it first, and Prado chops one to right field.
The intention was there. Prado, that just couldn't get on top of that ball.
Here's Brian McCann. And, you know, Chris, the face of the franchise thing is something that gets thrown around a lot. And a lot of people scoff at it. And that, of course, has been Chipper for almost 2 decades. But now we're getting ready to transition to this guy, Brian McCann, for Atlanta.
And 2 years ago, it looked like he was going to go from Chipper to Jason Hayward. That's been delayed a little bit, but it'd be nice for the Braves to get a little Mount Rushmore of McCann and Hayward and Freeman.
McCann just turned 28 years old last month, an all-star in each of the last 6 seasons. And considering that he is a catcher, if you look at his progression and consider he's really just entering his prime, let's say 28 to 32, this is a guy who's on track for the Hall of Fame.
He has been consistent, that's for sure. His dad, Howie McCann, has been a big influence. Runs a baseball instruction facility in Alpharetta, Georgia. And baseball is in their blood. His dad, Howie, actually played with Buck Showalter.
I won't say is he really that old in case Buck is listening. But
our former
Buck,
colleague
course,
here at ESPN.
Buck, of course, used to be. You know, I've seen video of Buck Showalter when he was the star wishbone quarterback for the Century Blackcats out there in Century, Florida. McCann, the shortstop. The Yankees are turn 2, and Kuroda's out of the inning. We are through 6 here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-1. Memories can be nothing short of incredible. A Disney vacation is all about capturing the magic and living in the moment. What would your Disney memory be? A moment you'll always remember, or a vacation you will never forget? The only thing more fun than telling them is taking them. So what are you waiting for? Let the memories begin at the place where dreams come true, right here at Walt Disney World Resort.
And welcome to Walt Disney World Resort. My partner, Steve Berthiaume. First time down here. Man, I couldn't believe that when you told me.
It just never came up. And what better reason to be here than do a spring training game with you and Rob Parker as we look at a new Braves pitcher here to start the Yankee seventh. It will be their closer, Craig Kimbrell, who they were calling, as we mentioned, they were just making fun of him for winning the Rookie of the Year award, calling him Roy all day. Let's get an update now from our Baseball Tonight studios. Carl Ravitch.
All right, Steve, from the Magic Kingdom to Magic Johnson. He is the face now of the new owners of the Los Angeles Dodgers, a group headed by Magic and Mark Walter from the Guggenheim Partners in Chicago. Stan Kasten, of course, one of the architects of the Braves. For $2 billion, they'll own the Dodgers likely within 4 to 6
Back to
weeks.
Carl. All right, we are back here at Disney. Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. Craig Kimbrell, the new pitcher here for the Braves. How about the news, Chris, last night? Magic is running the Dodgers.
Exciting. I think it's great for baseball. Such a lovable personality, a guy who's face of that city. Think about Los Angeles, think about Magic Johnson, Lakers, and now he's going to bring all of his success that he's had post-career and business and all that. And I think it's going to be wonderful for the Dodgers franchise and for the city.
It's going to be great for baseball to have that ownership situation settled, and especially in such a terrific way with Magic in there involved in that group. Freeman and Kimbrell, there's your 3-1. Rob Parker down to the field with us. Rob.
Before the game, I talked to Michael Bourne. He was excited about the Magic Johnson sale, had a sense of pride, part-time African-American owner, also thought that Magic would bring a great attitude to the Dodgers, so he was pumped.
And star power, too, Rob. We talked about that at the winter meetings in Dallas when the Angels went and got Albert Pujols. That was really an effort by them to extend their payroll and take that opportunity to seize the market. And in L.A., Rob, as you know, the star power means a lot. And now the Magic situation sort of helps the Dodgers with a counterstrike, if you will.
Yeah, their star power and their substance as far as Magic Johnson and his business acumen.
This is Tyler Austin, who's taken over at third base, his first at bat of the day, facing Craig Kimbrell. Kimbrell, 127 strikeouts in 77 innings last season. That'll get you a Rookie of the Year award in a hurry. Two and two, but he did wear out down the stretch, as we talked about earlier in the game. Kimbrell, a 7.36 ERA after September the 8th, 3 blown saves and 8 appearances. This after he converted 25 straight saves and pitched 37 2/3 the scoreless innings. He gets the strikeout there. Austin is done, and the Braves are out of the 7th. We're going bottom 7 here from ESPN's Wide World of Sports. We're at Disney. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-1. 4th, the Major League Baseball season begins on ESPN as Jose Reyes and the new-look Miami Marlins open their new stadium. They'll host Matt Holliday and the defending World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals. Opening night baseball on ESPN, ESPN3, and also live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. That's Wednesday, April 4th. 1 week from today, Chris Singleton.
And ESPN Radio.
You'll be there.
John Schaumby, looking forward to
the call.
Big Red.
I want you to go check that thing that's out there in left center as well. The sculpture, the piece of modern art. Do you have an appreciation for modern art?
Sure. It's
all
beautiful.
Bold statements and that kind of thing. They're very, very textural, organic. I don't know. Here's Dan Uggla. Braves trail the Yankees here 3-1, bottom 7. Have some changes for the Yankees. Robinson Cano is out. Lance Nix is the new second baseman.
93. They're in the 7th inning. Some ride on that fastball, a little up. Kuroda's got that little hesitation in his delivery that you haven't faced him a whole lot. It's going to mess with your timing a little bit and mess with that front foot. Ultimately what pitchers want to do. That front foot's not down at the right time, and they can get that off. As far as timing-wise, it's going to be hard for you as a hitter to really make solid contact or drive the ball that you'd like to.
He's 2-2 on Uggla here. Got him. That's the case of Kuroda getting somebody to chase a pitch out of the zone, and that's how he earns his money. Here we'll see Freddie Freeman. Take another look at this pitch from Kuroda. Uggla swing and a miss.
You see the hesitation and then real tight spin on that. What looked like what it was a slider. And Uggla just kind of waves at it. That's just when you don't recognize the pitch.
You and I were talking with Freddie Freeman down at the cage before the game. And he said his best friend, his best buddy, just had his fantasy draft.
His name's Cameron, by the way.
His name is Cameron. We're about
to
throw Cameron under the bus. Cameron did not take Freddie Freeman. He took Pujols instead at first base. I don't mind telling you, Cameron, Freddie, he wasn't happy.
He's probably doing the ESPN Fantasy Baseball League.
You can play for free at ESPN.com.
But that will be motivation for
I would think.
Freddie Freeman.
I mean, if you're dissed by your best friend there, I mean, Pujols, you can't blame him, but Freddie Freeman. Big dude, 6'5", 240. And the issue this spring for Freddie Freeman has been the knee. It's been slowing him down a little bit this spring. He came in 16 for 61 with 18 strikeouts. But suffered a partially dislocated kneecap during a fielding drill the last week of February. And said he heard his knee pop and saw the kneecap slide over to one side. That's got to be fun. Worried about pushing off first base while he was holding runners on. It's a subluxation of the right patella. And it's actually the second time in 2 years that Freeman had suffered that injury. So now what they've decided is he's going to have to play with some kind of support, likely for the rest of his career. At first they tried a knee brace. That was really bulky. He's got this sort of brace or sleeve that's a little more snug. It allows a little more flexibility, a little more comfortable for him. Freeman drives one to right field, and that is going to be out of here, a home run.
Well, that'll help your knee feel better.
Freddie Freeman, 4 home runs in his last 2 games coming into today. So now making 5 homers in 3 games for Freddie Freeman. And the Braves are back within a run. It's 3-2 here, bottom 7.
And when we were around the cage today, Brian McCann talking to me looked at Freddie Freeman and said, that guy is a beast.
Here's another look. Freddie Freeman goes yard.
All right, just a off-speed pitch. Looked like some sort of slider or cutter that didn't move very much. And Freeman was locked and loaded.
Mentioned earlier, that was an issue last year for Hiroki Kuroda. A career-high 24 home runs allowed. That was a big jump from his previous career high of only 15. And if you're going to throw that pitch, that's going to happen a lot at Yankee Stadium this year with that short right field porch. Jason Hayward in there now. Hayward, for him, it's all about health. We were talking about Freddie Freeman's knee. With Hayward, it's the shoulder. It's the injury that grew worse as the season wore on last year. Hit .277, 18 home runs as a rookie. Last year, 227, 14 home runs. The OBP, Chris, had just plummeted 80 points from 393 down to 319.
Yeah, it was truly a struggle for him. But I think Jason Hayward's going to be okay. It may not be in the first few weeks of the season, but as Greg Walker, his hitting coach, has talked about him being committed to the process, I think at some point or another this season, probably sooner rather than later, he's going to get on track.
Hayward, as a result of the shoulder injury, very susceptible to inside pitches last season. Going to get that worked out. He looks at a strike there, and it's ring him up, set him down for Hiroki Kuroda. Hayward hit 286 against pitches on the inner third of the plate in 2010. That number dropped to 180 last year. Here's Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop today. And we haven't seen any wizardry from Simmons. He's been very solid over there, steady, but hasn't really had to extend himself playing shortstop today, but it's looked very good. Andrelton Simmons.
We talked about how hot the start he got off to, and then all of a sudden you're in the mix. They're talking about you, and you could possibly win the job.
You know, it's not like he's hit this spring. He came into today 8 for 39 at 205, and he strikes out there. The Braves are done in the 7th inning, but they pull within a run on Freddie Freeman's big home run. Freddie Freeman takes Hiroki Kuroda deep. We have a 1-run game. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-2 after 7 from here at Disney. Training is brought to you by Gillette. Great things start with Gillette. Steve Berthiaume back here with Chris Singleton and Rob Parker. The Yankees lead the Braves 3-2 in the 8th inning here at ESPN's Wide World of Sports. And we have a new pitcher for the Braves. We've now seen 2/3 of O'Ventrable exit Craig Kimbrell, enter Eric O'Flaherty, the left-handed part of that equation. 6'2", 220, the left-hander, 27 years old, out of Walla Walla, Washington. And what a year he had, Chris Singleton, last year. 2-4.
Yeah, 78 appearances. Wow. And an ERA, .98.
The ERA, 0.98. He became the first pitcher in Major League history to post a sub-1 ERA while making at least 70 appearances. There's Andrelton Simmons. There's some of that range that we've heard about. They don't get to throw in time, and Eduardo Nunez has himself a base hit. But how about that? Chris Simmons arranging well over toward the first base side of the bag.
Yeah, I don't think that was a play that Ugla would have been able to make as far as it being on that side of the bag and having a chance. But it just didn't look like he had a real good grip on the ball. The wise thing, though, in that was that he got it down. You don't want to not have a good grip on the baseball and airmail it into the stands and not allow that runner to get to second base. So I think he's showing some little bit of a veteran move right there by the young kid.
So Nunez on to lead off the Yankee eighth against O'Flaherty. And here is Jason Nix, who came in to play second base for Robinson Cano. Get back to O'Flaherty here, the remarkable year he had last year with the 78 appearances and a sub-1 ERA. Cito Culver is coming to pinch run now for Nunez at first base for the Yankees. Last year, opponents, another base hit here. Nix has himself a hit. So now it's Culver on second and Nix on first for the Yankees. Last year, opponents hit only .221 against O'Flaherty. He ended the year with a 19 2/3 inning scoreless streak, but he's sure enough, Chris, we've jinxed him. He's faced two batters and given up 2 base hits.
Yeah, it's spring training. This is a guy, we use that one way or the other for players. If players doing great that you didn't really expect, sometimes you say, oh, it's spring training, it'll come back to reality. And then if a player's established himself and done pretty well and doesn't do well in a game, you say, well, it's spring training. It'll change once the season
Here
starts.
Is Doug Bernier, who came in to play third base for the Yankees. Eric Chavez moved over from third to first once Mark Teixeira had enough, and Bernier shows bunt. Braves charge in from the corners, but both runners hold. So now it's Culver, the runner on second, and Nix at first for the Yankees. The hitter is Bernier, as we have officially entered the spring training portion of the game.
Numbers getting higher.
What was it? It was Matt Garza was telling our Baseball Tonight crew as Bernier lays down a nice bunt there, and he moves the runners over second and third with 1 out. Garza was saying, Ricky Henderson, I think, told him, if the 2 numbers add up to 10, you're not making the team. Did you ever find that to be true?
What if you're 28?
That's a good point. I think it's a push.
19?
I think it's a we'll let you know. Here's Bill Hall. Haven't seen him yet today. Bill Hall steps in, one of the new additions to the Yankees this year. He'll fortify that infield and give Joe Girardi some depth off the bench. The entire infield is in here in a 1-run game of the 8th inning for the Braves, with runners at second and third and 1 out. Let's see what Hall does. Everybody step in on the grass here, Chris.
It's an opportunity. Guys in, try to get something up in the strike zone, lift the ball to the outfield, produce a sac fly.
Braves fans have seen so much of this. Here it is, 8th inning. It's 3-2. They trailed the Yankees. The Braves last season played in 54 one-run games. They played 26 extra inning games. It's one big reason why these guys, O'Flaherty and Kimbrel and Johnny Venters, made so many appearances last year. They just had so many tight games. 1-1 to Bill Hall. Swinging away, ground ball. It gets knocked down by Ugla. Not going to come home. He'll go to first to get the out, and the run scores. And the Yankees take a 4-2 lead. Ugla thought about it here, Chris, but decided to take the out.
Beautiful play by Ugla. Ranging right there to his left and off the lip of the grass as well. Thought about going to home, but a veteran mindset saying, go ahead, we'll take this out for sure and try to minimize this damage. You're still within 2 runs. You've got 2 more times that you'll come up to hit. And I think you have to even start spinning things forward and think about really winning games during the regular season. Even though it's spring training in this final week, you have to start playing and executing and putting yourself in a position so that you can win games when they really count.
Eric Chavez is the hitter. He started the day at third base, moved to first base after Teixeira came out. And Chavez laces a base hit to the gap in right center. That'll score another run. Chavez is thinking 2. He'll have the easy stand-up double, and the Yankees take a 5-2 lead. So the Yankees getting to Eric O'Flaherty here in the 8th inning.
And Eric looks really good this spring. I talked to him before batting practice. His body feels great. Last year, he had a broken bone in his foot, missed some time. But you love to see that lefty on lefty. And the batter doesn't try to do too much and delivers there.
I'll tell you what, the busiest guy in the ballpark right now is Pete Pasquarelli in our booth, who's diligently shaking his head, trying to keep track of all the new guys who are coming in at every opportunity for the Yankees. Here's Francisco Cervelli, 5-2 now with a runner on second. Addison Maruzak is now the pinch runner at second base. Flaherty gets the call there. He has been a workhorse out of this Atlanta bullpen, not just last year, but in fact last year was the second time in his 3 seasons with the Braves that he appeared in 78 games. So they have seen a lot of Eric O'Flaherty over the last 3 years in Atlanta. Flaherty was a 6th round pick of his hometown Seattle Mariners. Went to Walla Walla High School in Washington. Picked up in the 6th round in 2003 by the Mariners, but was acquired by the Braves on waivers. Cervelli to right field. Hayward is under it. And that ends the Yankee 8th. But the Yankees add 2 more. They now lead the Braves 5-2 as we head to the home half of the 8th here at Disney. Sports, the Yankees lead the Braves 5-2. Corey Wade on the pitch for the Yankees. Chris, a little change in the old baseball schedule this year. 2 more wild card teams. We now have a 1-game wild card playoff in each league at the end of the year. What do you think?
I think it'll be exciting. I think that you look at the American League first and foremost, and look at the Red Sox, Yankees, Rays in the East. We've got the Rangers and the Angels in the West. Teams that are all very good ball clubs. An extra one gets to get into the mix for the postseason. Now that 1-game playoff, that's going to be a little dicey, and it's going to affect a lot of things. But I think as we adjust to it, and the years go on, just like the first wild card,
everybody hated that.
Key part of the
beginning, and turned out to be a tremendous move for baseball. Here's Jose Constanza, bloops one to left field. Corey Wade, the new Yankee pitcher. The great thing about the extra wild card thing, teams now are forced to win their division to avoid that one-game playoff. And you want to do whatever you can to avoid that scenario if you can. And the only way to do that is to win the division. So, in effect, adding the extra wild card team underscores the importance of the regular season, because that becomes more important now. You look at the Yankees and Joe Girardi, and you can make the argument, they play 18 now meaningless games against the Red Sox a year because most years, not last year, but most years, you pretty much knew both teams were going to get in. In fact, Brian Cashman said back in 2010 they even put their foot off the gas pedal because winning the division was not important, as was getting their whole lineup set for the postseason. Cashman said, winning the division just wasn't worth the T-shirt and the hat that you get. It was more important to set up our pitching and rest guys. But those days are gone now, Chris. You need to win the division because anything can happen in those one-game playoffs.
Clearly changes everything. And when you talk about trying to rest pitchers or rest players, managers are going to have to really pick their spots and hope that they pick the right ones, because those games in the middle of the season are going to count a whole lot more than they had in the past.
Eric Hinsky laces one to left field. Hinsky has himself an easy stand-up double. You've seen March Madness. You know about what great event viewing that is. I mean, for each team, it's one game. Baseball could use that. Baseball could use some.
We got it.
Yeah,
last
we could
year,
use some.
Final day of the season.
And
that
people say, well, if under the new format, you don't have that last day last season. But what made that day so remarkable was the fact that it hadn't happened in generations. So what are you going to do? Wait around for another 50 years hoping to get lucky again like that? No, let's have two big one-game playoffs at the end of the year that don't extend the playoffs into November, that help the integrity of the regular season rather than take away from it. And I think that baseball has come up with that plan. The key is the one game for me. A 3-game series waters it down. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've called some games, whether it was the White Sox and the Twins in a playoff game there a few years back. And it's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting to see. Everything's on the line.
Michael Bourne's in there now against Corey Wade.
Everyone's available in the bullpen. I mean, starters. It's special. It really is.
And if you can get the casual fan and tell them, hey, we're not making you watch a 7-game series. If you just want a little bit of baseball, here's one game, winner take all. That helps your fan base. It helps generate new fans, create new fans, get more people excited in the postseason.
I agree, and it gives more cities and regions hope that, hey, their team can get in there, get in the postseason, and
look at
have a chance. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know. You play that one game, you win the game, all of a sudden you go into the division series. And
I guarantee you right now that every fan of the Blue Jays, every Indians fan, every Royals fan is out there saying, Pirates fans, hey, we have a shot this year. We can legitimately contend for that second wild card. Now, that may or may not be true in each case, but they believe it, and that's a great thing. And they may be right. We'll see.
And I think it's some of those teams you mentioned, whether it's the Pirates, whether it's the Royals, as they're continuing to get better, I don't think they're ready yet.
Sure.
But within the next couple of years, they can be real excited about that because there is another spot.
Martin Prado takes Corey Wade to left field. Hinsky scores from third, and the Braves have their third run of the game. It's 5-3. Something had to be done. I wrote a piece for ESPN.com last April saying this. Something had to be done to make winning your division a bigger priority. And I think they found the answer.
Well, they read your article.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that factored into it. Clearly.
Power of the pen.
Yeah.
Or the keyboard.
Or the
now.
keyboard.
Yeah.
Or the phone or the app or the whole thing. Here's Brian McCann. He's the tying run at the plate here with 2 outs in the 8th inning against Corey Wade. Another good crowd here today. It's this magnificent complex, ESPN's Wide World of Sports. 9,510. A lot of Braves T-shirts, a lot of Yankees hats. Beautiful facility. A lot going on around here. Woke up in the hotel this morning and there was a giraffe under the terrace. Brian McCann hits one a long way to center field, and it dies at the track. Brian McCann, a bid to tie the game right there, but the Yankees are out of the 8th inning. They'll lead 5-3 as we go to the top of the 9th inning here from Walt Disney World. Tomorrow, ESPN wraps up coverage of spring training baseball as Evan Longoria and the Rays take on Jimmy Rollins and the Phillies. Major League Baseball spring training brought to you by Gillette. ESPN Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Chris Singleton and I will be making a drive over to Clearwater after this game for that one. New pitcher for the Braves is the left-hander Chris Jones. And Siggy, tomorrow is going to be fun because we are scheduled to see for the Rays Jeremy Hellickson and Matt Moore, and for the Phillies, Cole Hamels.
Couldn't ask for anything better. Those two teams playing. Two great young arms and one more experienced arm in Cole Hamels.
Ugly at second base. Let's get a Baseball Tonight update. Carl Ravitch in Bristol. Ravi.
Hi, Steve. 5-3 in your game. Washington and the Mets. Behind that beard, those shades, that long shaggy hair is Jason Worth. That's his 4th now of the spring. Washington with a lead over the New York Mets. Washington, one of those teams that make the NL East so compelling. 3-2 is the score there.
Carl, thanks. Steve Berthune back here with Chris Singleton and Rob Parker. Walter Ibarra is the batter for the Yankees against Chris Jones for the Braves. Braves have had a number of changes out there. Jason Hayward is singing, now playing center field.
Hayward may see some time there during the year, just depending on what's going on with Michael Bourne, but definitely has the athletic ability. Showed that earlier in the ball game, making that catch, robbing a home run, one up in right field.
Yankees have a 5-3 lead here in the 9th inning. Now, are we taking your car to Clearwater?
No, we've got a convoy.
Thank you, CW. Thank you, C.W. McCall. You got
your CB in the car?
That's a Big 10-4. Ibarra sends one to right field, and it drops in for a base hit. Hayward was playing right. He's now in center. That's because Michael Bourne is off on the sidelines, chatting with our Rob Parker. Rob.
Mike, you were 1 for 3 against Kuroda. Tell me about his sinker today.
He had good movement on it. You know, not only his sinker, he had all of his pitches working with a split, cutter, curveball. So, you know, he's a pretty good pitcher, man. He can keep you off balance good, and, you know, you have to fight against him. And he had his stuff on today, and he went 7 strong. We had a couple of hits off of him, a couple of hard hit balls, but, you know, he did his job overall. And, you know, it was a good outing to see him because, you know, you get used to seeing what he has, and we'll probably be facing him during the season.
How about the catch out in right field by Jason Hayward? Tell me about that. Did you think that he had that, or did you think it was gone?
Man, that was an amazing catch. I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing that later on tonight in the top 10. That was nice. You know, he didn't time it. He just broke on it real good. Put his foot up on the wall and got up and brung it back. Man, you know that's not an easy play, and everybody gave him tips up on that play.
All right, Michael, appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, back upstairs.
Guys, thanks very much. So the Yankees, Chris, that's the second time we've seen Andrelton Simmons throwing in the dirt. Both times were very tough plays as he tried to turn the double play there, but both times in the dirt. And Freddie Freeman not able to make the play first.
Yeah, this time couldn't dig it out. Last time he was able to. Freddie Freeman pick up Simmons.
This is Cito Culver for the Yankees. As Joe Girardi has emptied the bench, Culver came in earlier in the game as a pinch runner. And he is currently the shortstop. Chris Jones, the Braves pitcher. We've seen Brandon Beachy. We've seen Craig Kimbrell. We saw Eric O'Flaherty, and now Chris Jones. 5-3 Yankees, top 9. Got the sense, walking around the Braves clubhouse with you earlier, that everybody's just about ready to call it a month. We're at that last week, and it's hot.
You're packing your stuff up, cars being sent. Talking to Dan Ugley yesterday, and Dan, who's been having a pretty good spring, he said, I'm ready to go. Let's get the season started, especially when you're swinging the bat well. You don't want to waste any more hits down here.
Simmons, the backhand. There's the arm. Boy, it's a good one. So it's a 6-3 put out there for Culver. We'll go bottom 9 here at Walt Disney World. The Braves need 2.
Going to Miami, they got the new unis, the new ballpark, and picked up some pretty good ball players.
I think it's going to be a zoo. To be honest with you.
There's definitely going to be a lot of energy. New ballpark, the fans are going to be out there and supporting. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of life. A new stadium that we're all anxious to see. I think it's kind of a must-win for us. We need to go out there and kind of show the Miami fans what we're all about.
It's going to be electric. Miami's been waiting for this day for a long time.
That's opening night on ESPN 1 week from tonight. The Cardinals and the Miami Marlins in their brand new ballpark. Baseball tonight will be there with Carl Ravitch and company. ESPN will be there. ESPN Radio will be there. Chris Singleton and John Shambi on the call for that. Terry Francona is going to be there. I mean, we're rolling out the red carpet for that game. It's going to be Josh Johnson for the Marlins and Kyle Loge for the Cardinals.
Peter Pasquarelli will be in the house as well.
You going to be there, Pete? Checking out that psychedelic thing out there in left center. New pitcher for the Yankees is the pride of Northwestern, George Contos. 6'3", 225. The right-hander will face Dan Uggla. Bottom 9 here at Disney. The Braves trailing 5-3. Contos taken by the Yankees in the 5th round of the 2006 draft. And he's going to get the 9th inning here for Joe Girardi with a 5-3 lead. Uggla, Freeman is on deck. I think I was trying to do the picks for the National League East. Because we do this thing on .com. The picks didn't go well for me last year. They never do. But Uggla, another big cut there.
Who had St. Louis after Wainwright goes down in spring training?
I mean, it's guesswork. But in this division, look at the Braves rotation. It's very young. There's some injury questions there. We know about the Phillies' injuries, especially in the infield there. The Nationals are going to be a good team, certainly with an improved rotation, but maybe a year away. That scenario, the team that sits there, it's Ozzy's Marlins. I mean, maybe. If Zambrano looks to be in great shape. Uggla goes up there, takes his 3 swings, and it's have a seat. Zambrano looks to be in great shape. If he can give them 10, 12 wins at the back end of that rotation, and most importantly, Josh Johnson stay healthy. He's up to 96 this spring.
Josh Johnson's the key.
Yeah.
It starts there. You also need Logan Morrison, Mike Stanton to be healthy. They've had some neat issues this spring training. But it all starts with Josh Johnson. That's the first domino.
But they go with Nolasco and Sanchez and Johnson and Carlos Zambrano in the mix as well. And they have Heath Bell, the Heath Bell experience at the back end of that bullpen. It's a good bullpen there. And they have Mark Burley in the rotation as well. They bring in Jose Reyes. And it's an exciting team. Gabby Sanchez is one of the more underrated hitters in the National League. There's a lot there. Bonifacio is going to chase things down at center field. We'll see. The picks never quite work out the way you hope they might. But we'll find out. You mentioned Johnson. I think, Chris, for me, if there's 2 pitchers whose health will determine the success of their teams, it's Johnson for the Marlins in the National League and Ubaldo Jimenez for the Indians in the American League.
Wow, you're going Cleveland on us, huh?
Well, I think that their season will go as Ubaldo goes. There's a lot of nice pieces there in Cleveland. The bullpen mafia is there. Jason Kipnis is there. Lonnie Chisenhall got sent down, but he'll be back soon. If Ubaldo can be the guy he was first half of the season for the Rockies before, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to catch the Tigers, but they can certainly be in the wild card discussion. But they need him to be that guy, and we'll see if he is. Freddie Freeman gets a walk, and now the Braves will get the tying run to the plate in the person of Jason Hayward, who Chris earlier turned in the highlight of this game so far, a little Spider-Man routine up that right field wall.
Beautiful play, perfect angle to the ball. Takes his eye off the ball just a second to know where that wall is, locks back in, and uses the bare hand as sort of a brace to go up a little bit higher. That's perfectly scripted right there.
So Braves 1 out here in the 9th. Pasternicki will run for Freeman, and it's Hayward who's the tying run. Foul back. Back to our discussion with Greg Walker earlier today about all the hitting coach for the Braves, about all the work he's done with Jason Hayward this year. The goal was not to reinvent Jason Hayward. It's funny because, part of that this winter, Chris, was Chipper Jones getting involved with the video with Scott Fletcher and Greg Walker and that Braves hitting staff. Trying to not get him fixed or reinvent him, just sort of get him back to where he was.
And definitely not the first time that future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones has helped out some of his teammates. I hear that regularly during the course of the season, that, hey, Chipper helped me out in the cage, or worked with me a little bit on this. This is a guy that I don't know if when it's all over with, at some point he wants to be a hitting coach, but I'm sure if he does, he will be a great one, because he's already been one the last 10 years.
Chipper said Hayward is regaining the proper use of one of the hinges in his swing, and that would be Hayward's wrist, which they think he lost last year. I mentioned Chipper. He's, of course, going to open the season on the DL, had a meniscus surgery, but they expect him back for the home opener, and that's certainly welcome news. Because it would be a shame if in his last season Chipper didn't get to play in the Braves home opener. You want him in there. Hayward down 1-2. He's the tying run here in the 9th inning. George Contos. This is up and away, and we're at 2-2.
I think you have to balance all that, the emotional side, with the practicality of what you're trying to accomplish in the season. Because if you become too focused on Chipper and all the ceremonial things throughout the year, then it becomes harder to really win the games and strategize and do what you need to do. So I think that is a challenge for Fredi Gonzalez to, how do I balance this and really keep the goal in mind. And talking to Fredi Gonzalez, he learned a lot from last year. He learned, whether staying with a guy too long is good or bad. He found out who he could, who he couldn't, and he's going to make some adjustments this year.
And Mariano Rivera hinted that that's one of the reasons why he wouldn't say for sure that he was going to retire after this season, but he certainly hints at that. Hayward with a drive, and it's gone. We have a tie game, bottom 9. Jason Hayward has tied it with 1 out in the 9th, a 2-run home run. And the Braves tie the Yankees 5-5. Fill thine horn with oil, and don't go, because we have more baseball.
Beautiful swing there, and staying gap to gap, left center field that time. Everything was smooth. Wasn't jerky, wasn't a quick step, but what they've been working on this spring, trying to smooth things out with Hayward, a softer step with that right foot, and that was perfect. I know Greg Walker, this is a shot of him in the dugout. He is probably grinning from ear to ear.
Turn the buses off. Andrelton Simmons fouls one back. This is my fault. I take full responsibility.
It's all right.
No, because
it's baseball.
My first ever play-by-play game was that Yankee Rays game last year, game 162. That was 7-0, 7th inning. And we know what happened. We were there for a while. Turned out to be great, John Kruk and I. Now, here we're 2 outs away. Wheels up, and let's hold the phone. We got a 2-run home run from Hayward that tied it up. You're taking it well.
It's baseball. We're sitting out here. Beautiful afternoon.
It is gorgeous here. It's about 40, 45 and left Bristol yesterday. Sunny in the 80s here. Gorgeous. Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop for the Braves, in there against George Contos for the Yankees. Now 5-5, bottom 9. I guess Hayward, we were talking about Hayward and the hinge that Chipper was talking about with the wrist that they were trying to get back. It looked to be back on that pitch.
Good top hand working.
Simmons pops it up. Cervelli is under it. 2 outs. Oh, pardon me, that's not Cervelli. We have a name that Molina situation. That's Gustavo, who's coming to catch for the Yankees.
Hey, give me a walk-off.
You love playing that game, don't you?
I don't know if he qualifies for name that Molina, Gustavo. He should in theory. But Gustavo Molina has recently come in to catch for the Yankees. Here is Jose Constanza.
Let's see if Constanza can work this at bat, get on base, steal second, get in the scoring position. Braves maybe walk off.
Hey, let's go, RD.
So that's it. You're going to play the walk-off card now?
Well, this kid can get on base. He's got the speed. Steal second base or score from first on a gapper.
The word is that when this happens late in one of these spring training games and the bus is already running and somebody ties it up in the 9th inning, they decide, well, we didn't we didn't bring enough pitchers here to play 19, 20 innings, and they certainly may need to. So they sort of signal each other from one dugout to the next, and the umpires are involved, and they decide what they'll do. Well, the signal has been they'll play one more inning after this, and then they'll call it a game, regardless of the score. Constanza fouls one off. And that happened the other night with our friend.
I knew you were going there.
Well, I mean,
knew
come
you
on.
were going there.
Come on, man. I mean, the Yankees and the Red Sox, and Bobby V's got his guy warming up, and they send him out there after the last out, and the Yankees are packing their bags, and Bobby V's, wait, whoa, where are we going here? It's a tie game, and Joe Girardi said, well, no, we brought up pitchers, and that's going to be it. So we have extra innings here at Walt Disney World. The Yankees and Braves will play at least, well, no, they'll play only one more. 5-5, 10th inning here from Disney. The final wild card spot. Nick Punto had an RBI single. The Cardinals had a 5-0 lead, while Chase Utley's sac fly in the ninth tied the Phillies game at 3. Then 10:26 Eastern, Chris Carpenter closed out a shutout. The Cardinals win 8-0 in Houston. Hunter Pence, former Astros great, RBI single in the 13th, gave the Phillies the lead. The Phillies won. The Braves were eliminated, and the St. Louis Cardinals grabbed that final National League wild card spot, and they headed to the postseason and, of course, ended up winning the World Series. And now this year we'll have 2 wild cards from each league. Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton, Rob Parker along the way. We are playing one more inning here from Disney. The Yankees and Braves tied up 5-5. Jason Hayward's 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th inning gave us one more inning of baseball, and that's where we are right now. Mark Lamb is in there. Mark Lamb will be the pitcher for the Braves. And at this point, you'd be hard-pressed to find a guy with a number below 60.
It's beautiful. Earn your way.
Jason Nix is the hitter. Jason came in there to play second base for Robinson Cano.
It's a different story with the Yankees, though. All those retired numbers. You could be a guy like Jason Nix, who's got
at some point,
big league time.
At some point, you're going to have to raise the bar, aren't you? You're going to run out of numbers like the Celtics. Of course, now we've seen some organizations unretire numbers, right? That happened with Frank Tripucka, the Broncos quarterback, said he'd be happy if Peyton Manning wears his 18. Logan Morrison will now wear number 5 for the Marlins, which had been retired. Lomo, big George Brett fan growing up, said his dad wanted to be like George Brett, so Logan Morrison wears number 5. Simmons can't handle that one, and Nix has himself a single. So the Yankees have the go-ahead run on here. Nobody out top 10.
Yeah, we talked about the great hands of Jelton Simmons, and right here was an opportunity, even though it was a tough hop, for us to see him flash that leather a little bit, but
they scored that a
come
base
up with
hit.
that one.
So Nix has himself a single. Here's Doug Bernier, who came in to play third base, facing Mark Lamb for the Braves. Prado in on the grass at third, looking for the bunt with nobody out. I mean, at this point, is it more important that Bernier shows he can lay down a bunt when you need him to, or is it more important for him just to take his hacks?
Try to end the ball game.
There goes the runner. Gets all the way to the backstop. And now Nix is at second base, so the Yankees have the go-ahead run. You don't need the bunt here.
Talking about in the ball game in theory, at least, in the sense of go deep, swing it.
J.P. Boscan is the new Braves catch. That one got through him. And now we have the go-ahead run at second base. The Yankees are set to open their regular season with C.C. Sabathia on the mound. He'll be their opening day starter at Tampa Bay. Hiroki Kuroda will pitch game 2. And after that is I tried to talk to Joe Girardi about that earlier in the game. After that, it's wait and see. Phil Hughes is in the mix. Ivan Nova, Freddie Garcia, Michael Pineda. Bernier drops one down anyway. They get the runner to third. The Braves get the out at first base, but Nix is on third base now with one out. Here's the Yankees' April schedule. If Kuroda starts the second game of the season, that puts him on track to start the Yankees' home opener. That'll be April 13th against the Angels. They will make 2 Sunday Night Baseball appearances on ESPN against the Angels and against the Red Sox. So there's your first Yankees-Red Sox ESPN Sunday night game, April 22nd.
That's going to be huge in the
You're
Bronx.
You're going to be there doing radio.
Yeah, I'll be there doing radio.
Tito will be calling
Albert
the game.
Pujols in Yankee Stadium Sunday Night Baseball.
That's pretty cool.
That's going to be sweet.
That's big time. Bill Hall, the batter for the Yankees. Braves infield is in on the grass. Yankees have the go-ahead run at third base with one out here. It's going to be pretty cool having Tito do those games for us, too. He'll be up there with Dan Schulman, Oral Hershiser.
Love him. He's a riot. He made a very easy transition in the booth. He's entertaining, that's for sure.
You know what? He's a natural at it because he's just a good guy, man. He's a good dude. And he'll talk to you about baseball as long as you want. He has fun. He's really happy to be here. He's excited about his opportunity. He wants to participate, and it's going to be wonderful having Terry on our Sunday night broadcast this year, as well as in the studio on Baseball Tonight.
Yeah, he's got great guys working with Dan Schulman, Oral Hershiser.
Oh, first rate. Buster's down there
on the field.
I mean, they can get some things done. 2-1 to Bill Hall. Swing away. Now it's 2-2. 92 right there from Mark Lamb, gassing it up a bit with the go-ahead run on third base and one out here.
Bill Hall's had this situation twice this afternoon. Infield drawn in. Last time was able to get the run in, hit a sharp grounder to Dan Uggla. Uggla elected to go to first base. See if he can do it again.
We've gone full. We are determined to get some baseball in here today. One out, Mark Lamb now 3-2 on Bill Hall. Braves infield to step off the grass now at short and third, and Bill Hall draws himself a walk. Here's Addison Maruzak, the third baseman. He's 95, so he's way over 10. He's at 14. But this is a big spot for him, driving the go-ahead run.
I think I was Jerry Rice when I was with the Yankees.
You had a wide receiver number?
Yeah, I was 80.
80, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could track down some balls in center field.
That's how you have to do it, though. When you're in a situation like that, you've just got to enjoy it and think about that football player that wears the number and say, hey, I'm Jerry Rice this spring.
I guess the idea is just to keep going lower and lower until you've got like a kicker or a punter number. That'll work out for you.
You also know, too, where your locker is in that big league clubhouse.
Yeah.
You get a floor plan, you can kind of understand how they set that up. They know which guys are going to be out, and it kind of shrinks down to certain dimensions. So if you're in a certain part of the clubhouse, that can be an indicator. If your jersey number's high and you're a certain part of the clubhouse, you know that, uh-oh.
And then the veteran guys, their locker moves year to year, right? They get closer. The better you get, the closer you get to the exit. So you can duck in and out if you need to. Big cut there, and that takes care of Marusak. So there's 2 outs here for the Yankees, first and third, 5-5. And it's time, Chris Singleton, to name that Molina. Gustavo, yes, correct. Thanks for playing America's favorite game. Name that Molina. Always good for a yuck or two on baseball tonight.
I'm sure you're getting blown up on Twitter.
Well, occasionally
that right now.
The disturbing thing is when somebody gets it wrong. I mean, guys will answer the wrong Molina, and then you have to correct them. Ooh, no, so sorry. We were looking for Yadier. We're looking for Yadier, but thanks for playing. Here's Gustavo. Yadier Molina just, of course, got that new contract in St. Louis. Big money. Which was terrible news for the Arizona Diamondbacks and Texas Rangers, because suddenly Miguel Montero and Mike Napoli are saying, not so fast there, Osborne. Let's renegotiate.
Yadier's older brother, Benji, announced his retirement this offseason.
Now, I don't even think Gustavo is related to the Molinas. Yeah, he's not a technically a name that Molina, but he's still eligible for the game, but he's not a member of the Molina catching family in Pride of Puerto Rico. Bill Hall takes off and goes first to second. Funny thing about all 3 Molina brothers, each guy, Singy, each one of the Molina brothers, Benji, Jose, Yadier, has 2 World Series rings. How about that? 3 catchers in the family, each one with 2 World Series rings.
Got to make a movie out of that somehow, some way. Who was the big influence in that family as far as teaching those guys catching?
Their father, Benjamin Sr., was a factory worker in Puerto Rico. Gustavo Molina! Oh, Jason Hayward makes the running catch to keep the game tied. We'll go bottom 10. We have 3 outs to go. Either the Braves win or we'll have a tie. Back with the bottom of the 10th. Ball is done here from Disney. It's back to Bristol for NFL Live. That follows our game. Commissioner Roger Goodell gave a State of the Union speech today. We'll have the latest on that. Also, reportedly a new team for Brandon Jacobs. Wendy Nixon, the cast of NFL Live, has those stories and more coming up as soon as our game is over from here at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex in beautiful Disney. 5-5, bottom 10, Yankees and Braves. Steve Berthiaume, Chris Singleton, and Rob Parker along the way. George Contos remains the Yankees pitcher. Jose Yepez, the catcher, will be the hitter for Atlanta here in the 10th. We will play 3 more outs. Jason Hayward, if you're just joining us, hit a 2-run home run, bottom 9, to tie the game at 5. It was decided at that point that these two teams would play 1 more inning and then call it a day. The Yankees threatened, did not score, top 10, and now Yepez leads off the bottom of the 10th for the Braves. Takes a strike.
Hayward saved a couple of runs on defense as well, robbed a home run, and then that nice catch coming in.
Yeah,
he's top half of this inning. That was a run that was going to score that ball drop.
Nice running catch in center field. Or home run robbery in right field. Yepez fouls one off. George Contos, 6'3", 225, the right-hander out of Northwestern University, Lincolnwood, Illinois. Yepez, right field. Former Tacoma Rainiers great, flies out to the track. There's one away. Here's Luis Durango, the right fielder. Braves down to their final 2 outs. Just about everybody on both sides has played. Durango shows bunt. They are into the grass of the corners here for the Yankees. Martin Prado is out there on deck for the Braves. Durango, chopper foul. So Contos quickly ahead here 0-2.
Good speed. Get on, steal a base. Braves still could have that celebration walk-off.
Do you celebrate a spring training walk-off? Do you go crazy?
Well, the younger kids do.
Ah, those crazy kids. Something that technically must... It can be overdone. There's a line, right? Could you get a kangaroo court fine for over-celebrating a spring training one? A little too much enthusiasm?
When it comes to kangaroo court, sometimes anything goes. It just depends on who the judge is.
Tell you what.
And how much they need to raise funds.
Barry Larkin was a long-time kangaroo court judge for the Reds. And we were on the road at the World Series, and Lark was telling us the stuff he used to, the rules violations he used to make up on the fly to try and raise some capital at the last minute.
I love it.
Man, if I was a rookie, I'd be afraid just to walk in there. Durango swinging a miss. Molina holds on, and now we're down to our final hitter. It will be Martin Prado.
Well, we had in Chicago that if you wanted to contest it,
so there was an appeal process.
Yeah, but if you lost, you had to pay double.
Oh, sure. Well, why wouldn't you?
But
we're getting set to send you to NFL Live as soon as our game is over. I want to thank our crew here for helping me out in my second play-by-play experience. Couldn't have got through it without you guys. Fantastic job. We'll do it again tomorrow in Clearwater, the Rays and the Phillies, 1 o'clock on ESPN. And again, that's a must-watch because we'll see Hellickson, we'll see Moore, and we'll see Hamels over there at the Phillies ballpark.
Looking forward to that. And fantastic job today by Hiroki Kuroda as well. The answer for the Yankees, that number 2 starter in the rotation. We forget, a year ago, it was CC Sabathia, and they were hoping A.J. Burnett. They were still upset. They lost out on Cliff Lee, but things are looking pretty good for the Yankees as far as the rotation.
Prado swings, pops it up, and that'll do it. So we'll finish after 10 innings here, 5-5 at ESPN Wide World of Sports. For Chris Singleton and Rob Parker, I'm Steve Berthiaume. Catch more spring training baseball tomorrow. 1 Eastern, the Rays take on the Phillies in Clearwater. NFL Live is next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long from Disney World.